How's it going, guys? Having some technical kerfuffle. I think I'm re-downloading the Tittle Tavern map pack right now. It got updated. I think that's part of the reason why it's not allowing me to join people's lobbies right now. I think I have the older version loaded up, and it didn't auto-update or something, maybe. So we're gonna see if this fixes the issue, and then we can get in here. Barring this not working, maybe I'll just mess around with my actual load order or something. But welcome, welcome. Bear with me for a minute while I try and figure this all out. Ah, beautiful. Alright, well, as far as troubleshooting, it's probably some of the more straightforward examples where it actually went well. Let's try and find somebody who will let us spectate their first round. Rip. Alright, guys, maybe we'll just wait. We'll see who gets in here with some replays, and then we'll just drop them in and we'll get over them. We had a bit of a messy start here. Never fails that there's always some kind of bizarre issue going on with setting everything up. What have I've gotten rid of most of the replays that I have. It's because they updated and it messes all the replays up, so maybe we can sit here and we can just talk about some of the factions right now. I don't know if anybody was watching it, but I dropped a tier list video for all of the Corn Lords. I talked about them, where they sit in the meta right now. Heroes are going to be the next thing, which I'm really excited to do. It's probably going to be a much shorter video than the hour-long one for all of the Lord options. I don't know what I'm going to do when I get to infantry, because it's a chunky bit, and there's a lot to talk about with all these units. I've got one match that I might be able to jump into here, guys. Alright, give me a sec. These guys are also having a similar issue, so I'm going to relaunch without the map pack, because they're going to be playing on, Black Ark, I think. Okay, hold on. Alright. Give it a minute and be patient, see what happens. What's up, Mimi? I usually livecast the first game, and then I go and do replays from there. Sorry I'm not really checking chat. I've been trying to get into an actual game to cast. Why do you never see Chaos Sorcerers on a dragon? Dragons are best with heals, usually, and they're oftentimes just not as good as the other options from the Chaos roster. Not to say that the Chaos Dragon Lords are bad, but they usually don't provide you as good of battlefield control as their counterparts on other rosters. You know, like, Imric is an absolute monster of a duelist and is probably one of the best lords to use in conjunction with healing magic. Dark Elf dragons, usually you see, you don't see the Black Dragon itself. You see them on, you see Malekith or the, Supreme Sorceresses on them. Supreme Sorceresses just have really strong, synergies with the rest of the roster. Burning Head is really good at clearing out chaff missiles, and then you can also dive really hard to protect the dragon against anything that it can't actually deal with. And I think that you're better off just bringing Archeon or Sartorial 9 times out of 10 if you're playing Warriors of Chaos. Like, there's nothing that the Sorcerer casters get on a dragon that other lords don't already have, and probably do a little bit better. That would be my explanation. Alright. Here we go. We're finally getting into a match here, guys. Maybe. Now what's going on? Oh. Slick. Like I said, sorry for the messy start, guys. It's been pretty chaotic today. It is what it is. Yeah, no worries, Mimi. You can bring a Chaos Dragon Lord. You won't suffer too terribly for it. Like I said, the Chaos Sorcerers have really good lures. You can get a Metal Caster on a dragon. Metal Magic is probably the best spell arrangement in the entire game right now. The only reason that you don't see him more often is because Sartorial is the same type of combat prowess, but with an overshield, which is really good, and then also has Rock of Inevitability. Dragons are just a little unfortunate. They've been passed by other units, mostly. Maybe they'll get a little bit of love someday, though. They've been up and down over the course of the entire Warhammer Total War franchise. They were really strong in 1. There was a time where they were uber dominant in 2. Then they fell off a bit. And now they're just like a good mix-up option. They're best for Wood Elves and High Elves. And Dark Elves if you have the Soul Stealer magic, or just on Dark Elves in general. Beastmen versus Lizardmen is kind of rough for the Lizardmen, honestly. There's a lot of things that Lizards are very good against, but just absolute swarms of either mega bottom-tier infantry backed up by really good missile play, or uber cost-effective swarms of aggressive infantry like Goreherd, Corngors. Then we've got some Minotaurs and Malagor to back it all up. That's pretty tough for them to deal with. They can really struggle. The Fire Slant is going to have to put in some ridiculous work here. I mean, Burning Head is going to be really good against the Goreherds, who only have 15 armor, and these guys are pretty expensive. 600 gold is pretty damn cheap for the cost effectiveness that they provide, but they can definitely be handled by good magic usage. It's just going to come down to whether or not Legatus is going to be able to juggle all of these threats effectively. Because we do have just, swarms of hard-hitting Beastmen units here. Got some Centaurs with great weapons up top, looking to tangle with the Skink Skirmishers. All the Goreherd and Corngors on the low ground, obviously. And the Minotaur great weapons are going to be looking to pressure some of these high-value targets. Slans get absolutely bodied by Minotaurs. It's kind of hard to dive Slan. It's a little bit risky. Definitely need to be cautious there. Pretty good opening for the Lizardmen, honestly. The Skink Skirmishers held up pretty well to that charge. And they're poisoning the Centaurs here. Really good Flock of Doom there. Didn't hit everything, though. But you can see the Centaurs, man, just vicious charge damage. They are so damn strong. And now Minotaurs getting onto the flank of this Lizardman fight is going to be a really bad situation for them. They're definitely going to have to pull out of here ASAP and preserve some of these Coldwind Spear Riders. And you can kite back against Minotaurs with Skink Skirmishers, because Minotaur's speed getting poisoned is almost as good as the Skink Skirmishers, a little bit higher. Definitely going to take them some time to get there, though. Goreherds get absolutely roasted by the Umbral Tide here. Attacked on the flank by Source Warriors, and do break. Definitely need to chase this unit off. There's still quite a few models left on this unit. Cannot discount them. Really good Solar Engine usage so far. The Solar Engine definitely needs to be jumped on by these Corngors and shut down before things get out of hand there. And the Minotaurs wreck house up top here. Breaking one of the Coldwind Spear Riders, the other one down to less than 50% of its HP. We need to keep an eye out for the Burning Heads here. Legatus has a beautiful opportunity here, and we finally get one. Gonna be hitting the Corngors first with a good rotation, getting through all of these Goreherds here. Oh, yeah, baby. That's it. Oh my god, it hit the entire Beastman front line here. And it gets a beautiful rotation onto this final Gore Herd out here. Doing wicked damage. Oh my god, 800 value from one burning head is glorious business, man. Oh, you couldn't ask for much more. One Minotaur does get broken down here. The Colossedon Hunters have collapsed into the fight, and another Minotaur Great Weapon does come out up top here, but is looking a little vulnerable right now. As long as the Colossedon Hunters don't try to disengage and just stay in this combat with the help of these very tattered Cole One Riders, they should win this fight. Even if the Beastmen don't, if they just get these Minotaurs down to breaking point, the Umbral Tide should be able to finish them off here. Coldland Spear Riders looking to maneuver back in, and the Colossedon Hunters do look like they're going to be going down here. But they got about 1,000 value, which is not bad. You know, they could definitely have done a little bit more. But, again, you can see the problems that Lizardmen have against the Beastmen, man. They're just so swarmy. And the Saurus front line has really been ripped apart. I mean, they did a really good job of holding, but Beastman ferocity really is something to behold. You can see just the hordes of dead here. And the Lizardmen are very thin on the ground now. They've got some Saurus spears out here. Two Saurus warriors, very tattered, trying to fend off what remains of the enemy army. And this is going to be a pretty nice burning head. Gets a little bit of damage on the Corngores here. Does rotate away from the much healthier Corngore unit down here. But maybe going to hit these Ungor Spear Herd. Maybe get some good damage on them and potentially break them. Oh, it just squeaks away from the core of the unit here. All blobbed up on the edge of the formation. That's brutal, man. You hate to see that. Riperdactyls flying overhead, looking to get after yet another Minotaur, man. Tlan has been all over summoning out the Minos. They've just been getting pumped out at uber speed, and the Umbral Tide did get jumped on up top here and is broken. This is probably not going to go on too much longer. The value is very even ostensibly, but I would say the Beastmen are up pretty significantly here. Beastmen have, you know, quite a few infantry units left. They have a ton of supplies in the bank as well. Tlan has been very slow and deliberate with the summons. And Legatus has been summoning out an awful lot of units that have not gotten a lot of value. Not getting much out of the Umbral Tide, don't have a lot of value on the Riperdactyls. The Colossedon Hunters did okay. The Coldland Spear Riders here did alright. But, eventually the Minotide was able to just wear down all of that mobility. And the Lizardmen have to be able to keep their, mobile units semi-healthy in order to stay in these matches against very, quick factions like the Beastmen. They really can't afford to, lose momentum on the mobility front. Because once their skinks and their Saurus are unprotected, that's usually where you just see swarms of mobility from the Beastmen, like Centaurs and Minotaurs, just either diving directly onto the flanks and just absolutely running over all of the skinks and Saurus, or you see them commit fully to something like this, where they just dive the Slan or other Lord options, and they just beat the ever-loving hell out of them. Slan are really strong, but I do think that maybe against an aggressive faction like the Beastmen, they're not the way to go. And they're very vulnerable. They only provide value through their magic. And the magic has been pretty damn good. I mean, 1,300 value is no joke. But there's a big hill to climb here. It's going to take some very clean Lizardman play to pull this one back. With a Gorgon on the field, I'm not 100% sure how that happens. Mino's getting after the Solar Engine down here. Solar Engine has gotten okay value. Definitely needs to just hold here and let the Spear Riders peel off the Minos. They should have a little bit of HP left before this is all said and done. Razor Gore Herd flatten the Skink Skirmishers over here. Oh, you love to see the pigs parading, man. Razor Gore Herd are a great unit, guys. I don't see a lot of people bring them very often, but they're 600 gold, and they have an amazing charge bonus with good weapon strength, They're like a Fury with AP on the ground, honestly. They're incredibly strong. They've got good leadership, too, for a unit of this type as well. Base of 55 really isn't all that bad. They just absolutely run over the skinks. Definitely want to prioritize flattening the Saurus Spears here. Just a little bit of support from the Korngors here. And then Centaur's charging the flanks of these guys with a collapse from the Razor Gore herd onto the rear. That should be more than enough to deal with all of that over there. We do have the Gorgon. We've got Malagor diving in here as well to try and finish off the Slan. The Ripperdactyls do land on top of this fight and are really putting a beatdown on Mali here. Rippers need to get back up in the air and just pressure down the Beastman Lord here. Would be my advice, but Slan does break, and that is going to be a game set match situation for Legatus, unfortunately. I like the idea of the build. I don't know what you do against the Beastman here. It's just a little too narrow, maybe. I don't think the Solar Engine is all that useful against Beastman. It's not a bad option, because it can put some good pressure on Minotaurs, as well as Centaurs. But investing into both the Umbral Tide and the Solar Engine out of the gate with all these Spear Riders is a big commitment to your mobility core. And committing them a little piecemeal up to the high ground was definitely not a favored situation. Beastmen are just too quick to be able to do that. They get around the battlefield a lot better than you do. You're a little bit more ponderous. You don't want to scrap evenly on the flanks with Beastmen. You need to crush their front line, drag as many of their infantry down early as possible, and then you can focus on bringing out your mobility while you box up on a single point and scrap over the other one. If you spread yourself out thin, you're going to lose against the Beastmen 9 times out of 10. They just do it better than everybody else does. Alright, let me download all the replays that I'm getting here, and then we'll jump into some of them. We'll just keep going until we all run out of steam here. Honestly, I think that maybe instead what that Lizardman build didn't have enough of was skirmishers. Like, skink skirmishers are honestly really good against the Beastmen if you can protect them. I think just bringing some skink cohort javelins backed up by skink skirmishers and using the spear riders to countercharge any of the big stuff that tries to charge down the skirmies would have been a really strong synergy for the Lizardmen in that matchup. Because the skink skirmishers are pretty good against even the Korngors. Korngors have decent armor, but they don't have shields. So skink skirmishers can poke them down pretty effectively. And firing in against Goreherd is just value city as well. They have terrible armor, and they also don't have a shield. What's up, Jack? I'm doing good. Hope you're doing well as well. Alright, downloads. We build our archive of replays yet again. Oh yeah, and I gotta because our one of the opponents in the last match didn't have the has the game on Epic. They didn't update the map pack for Epic. They had to play without it, so Let me re-add the map pack and we'll get into some other games. Oh man, High Elves, Skaven, Coast versus Lizardmen. Lots of good matchups to pick from. But we'll go with that Beastman Greenskins match that we saw. Beastmen are very good against a lot of the really meta factions, but Greenskins have a pretty favorable matchup against the Beast Tides, honestly. You can go really cheap with your front line as the Orcs and do pretty damn well against the Beastmen. The Beastmen, honestly, are pretty heavily reliant on some units that the Greenskins have a lot of good counters for. And the WoW magic is really nice. And strong character play coming in here for the Greenskins with Goblin Big Bosses, which I really don't hate. The thing that these guys usually struggle against is armor, and the only armored target is the Vice President Gorbel here. They need to watch out for him. He'll put a beatdown on them, but getting after the Beastman Caster, or even better, maybe finding Morgar in an isolated situation and beating him down, really would be quite nice. Beastman leadership is really bad if their lord goes down. But bringing Morgar is kind of the counter to that. He is really difficult to snipe generally, and we'll have to see if they need stab and is able to put in some big work here. It's definitely going to have to. Gorbel does have Slaughterer's Call, which gives melee attack and leadership in a radius, as well as some charge bonus. Good skirmishing for the Greenskins up top here. Force Goblin Spider Riders, putting some big damage on a unit that is literally twice their cost. Or not literally. I think these guys are 475 actually. 800 gold on the other end though, so a very cost-effective skirmish game developing for the Greenskins. This is one of the areas where Greenskins dominate. Their archers aren't very long range. I mean, they only have 100 range, but it's still more than the 70 of the Centigores. And the Centigores are a nuisance, man. They are one of the strongest skirmish cav in the game. As long as you don't let the Forest Goblin archers get charged down, they should be able to outtrade the throwing axes out here on the flank. Need to be very careful with these guys, though. Michael doing a pretty good job of staying attentive there, though. Orc boys moving up should have a decent enough time against the Ungor spear herds here. What does Wurzag have? We've got Here We Go, and that's it. Wow, okay, going for the big buffs here. Here We Go is a great spell. Big buff potential on it. Centaur throwing axes do charge in here, but they are intercepted by the melee variant of the Spider Riders. Very nice, clean micro there. The other Centaur throwing axe should honestly just commit to trying to fight this or just buffering for their friends. But the other throwing axe is going to be pulling out here. Probably not going to be around on the field much longer, though. They're very tattered. It's not going to take much more to get rid of them. Ugly charge going down here from the Orc Boar Boys. You can see the bracing from the Corn Gores, turning that damage reflection around on the Boar Boys here, and they just get absolutely shredded in the early going. Really nice buffing here. Wurzag uses Mumbo Jumbo Chant, gets some big buffs going. Oh, and the Brace Shaman went too deep into the back line. They need stabbing, and you know what? I'm willing to bet. No, Effigy of the Gits, still, both uses still on the table here. Wow. Oh, that's brutal for the Beastmen, dude. Michael with really nice micro just jumps right on top of the Brace Shaman in the shadows. No time flat beats down the caster for the Beastmen. Shatters him too. Leaves him to just rat off the rest of the map. That's really smart. You know, the longer it takes for those kind of units to route off, the longer that you've got the advantage on the magic front. Spider Riders overextending pretty badly back here. I would have really liked to see them just rally back to sit on the back end edge of the objective here to provide cap weight against the Corn Gores, as well as just protect the Spider Rider archers a little bit better. But things are going well for the Beastmen all over the field for the most part. There is a little bit of a tricky situation going down back here. Vice President Gorbel is beating up on one of the poor Goblin Big Bosses. They're pretty damn strong, but even double-teaming this guy, it's going to be pretty rough. The Boar Boys might flip this fight. They're just, like I said, not very good against armor. They don't have a lot of it. They need stabbing. Surely one of them still has this available, right? Doesn't seem like it, because the Gorbel is back there just beating up on stuff still. For all of the damage that the Beastmen have done to the Greenskin front line, not having the magic on the field is really starting to hurt them. You can see here, most of their frontline infantry are worn down. There's some Zangors left with a couple of tattered Corn Gores. Lots of mobility out on the field, and they should be able to do some pretty good work, but heading into the late game and not having access to the Shadows magic to clear out the infantry, as well as being able to pop Melkoths on the Boar Boys and the Boar Boy Biggins, Beastmen are not going to be able to hold on to these points for much longer. They don't have a very dominant ticket lead yet. Good Centigore micro coming in on the flank fight here. Biggins getting side charged. More Orc Boys here in this pocket. They are struggling against all of the Beastmen here. But with the Wah and the Mumbo Jumbo chant all going down at the same time, man, you can see how effectively they're grinding into all of this. Beautiful side charge from the pump wagons. Just slapping up these Zangors. And the Zangors having a terrible day, man. Ugh. Just getting flattened right now. Unger Spear Herd look like they're going to be retreating, and the pump wagons should be able to feast on the souls of all of the routing infantry here. Centigores, though, should be able to maybe put a beatdown on these, but we'll see where the Logie Bogie Spore Splodas are going to go. Oh, and a regular pump wagons here, too. Very nice. You love to see pump wagons being used. They're very strong now. You know, for a long time, they were pretty bad. And there have been points where they've been massively overtuned, but they actually seem to be pretty well balanced right now, which is really nice, because it's been few and far between where that's been the case. Biggins grinding in against the Jabberslythe. I am very curious to see how this thing does. There's a lot of low leadership units here, and terror routes are always a risk for the Greenskins. Are the Beastmen going to be able to follow this up, though? The problem is that they're still scrapping over the high ground when they've lost all the low ground objectives as well. Once you start falling behind on value, you need to start consolidating your army and fighting over as few objectives as possible. That way you can try and regain some momentum. Oftentimes, people can get a little bit carried away, and they'll grind into the position that you move to, when they really don't have to. I mean, it is an objectives-based mode, after all. If you get up big early, you can just lock down 2 objectives and wait for your opponent. And if you're down and you take the one, you want to try and drag people over to where you're holding position. That way you can get a little bit more even trades. Maybe grind back into winning position. Big Boss is trying to help Wurzag out here, and Wurzag is getting beat up by the Jabberslythe, Morger, and Vice President Gorbel now. Gorbel's gotten some okay value. They're 1,200 gold with Slaughter's Call. About 1,000 on this guy right now. If Wurzag gets chased off here, Greenskin leadership is gonna start looking real bad. They've got a pretty decent position on the battlefield, but with a big Jabberslythe around to Mortis Engine down infantry, drop terror routes like is going on with the Snotling pump wagons here. They're also running for their lives now. And then just like hordes of Goreherd and Zangors flooding the field. The Greenskins might end up having some really serious difficulties securing a win here on tickets. Wurzak does rally, thankfully. The Gorbel getting dragged down. Probably not going to be hanging around much longer. Mumbo Jumbo Chant has been so clutch this game. Very good uses of it up to this point. But Wurzak getting jumped on yet again by the big monster. And the Gorbel. Gorbel with 255 HP. 1088 value certainly isn't terrible. Jabberslife probably going to break Wurzak fully here. He is running for his life. Aura of Madness leeching his HP down a little bit more. I don't think he's going to rally here. The damage sustained is way higher than his base value leadership. That's usually how you can tell if something's going to rally or not. Just looking at the at that number will usually tell the tale for you. Very hard to stabilize otherwise. Morgar squeaks away with 300 HP, almost getting the snipe in return. The big boss was down here, chewing on that bad boy. 1,300 value out of the Goblin Big Boss, dude. Kind of crazy, man. You don't see them do that well too often. Oh, and Magic coming out in the 4th quarter with a big pit of shades. Oh, that is disgusting, dude. Hit the entire infantry formation. Oh my god, how much value is this Beastcaster getting now? Got about 80 kills there and one good go of it. Aura of Madness is going to be leeching down a lot of these Orc War Boys as they run away. The Jabberslife has been carrying this game on its back since it came out on the field. It's got 1,600 value. Still has 3,500 HP as well. These things are damn strong. Especially against loaded leadership factions like the Greenskins. And the Beastmen were on the back foot really badly at one point, but now they're getting some big leadership breaks on a lot of the chaff units with Wurzak dead and gone. You can see how badly the leadership is suffering here. That minus 16 is brutal, man. Especially when you're talking about units with like their leadership in the 60s at best, and a lot of them being around 50. Losing your Lord is losing about a fourth or even up to like a third or half of the leadership on your units, which is not sustainable for the Greenskins. Morgar is routing, but the nice thing about him being routing in this state, it's a little bit hard for the Spider Riders and the Big Boss to get on top of him with the support of the Jabberslife and the Bray Shaman here. They're having a hard time blobbing up around him and getting attacks in while he's on foot here. He's regenning this whole time, and as long as your Lord is still on the field, even if they're routing or shattered, they technically are not debuffing the leadership of all your units. You can see here the leadership steady, no Lord dead or routing malice being applied here. Greenskins still have a way back into this game. If they resummon Wurzak, and if they also start to consolidate, maybe they'll be alright. Bringing out some mobility, trying to chip down these Centigores before they start getting too dominant. Centigore throwing axes surrounding the Big Boss out here. Big Boss with 1,400 value. Doing his absolute best on his little wolf here. Love these guys. They're a very underrated unit. You can kind of see why in this matchup. They can get some big damage in there under the right circumstances. Pump Wagons coming out, and they're doing some good work here. Spider Riders and more Boar Boy Biggins. Running over Zangors, struggling against the Corngors, and look at the Corngors up here, man. 1,500 value so far this game. Really can't engage these guys in melee with cavalry. Even if you're getting side charges, Corngors are just so good at staying put and chipping down the HP on large targets. You need to engage them with infantry, like the Black Orc, great weapons, but these guys are on the low ground getting hit by Pit of Shades. 1,900 value on the Shadows Caster here. Big damage on the Orc Boar Boys and the Black Orcs here. Down to about half health on these guys. You can see now the leadership malice allowing the Jabberslife to leech their life force down pretty aggressively. It does back out a little bit. We'll see if it starts to apply here again. These Orc Boys, they're definitely getting leeched out. We got a full rout on the high ground here. Greenskins hanging on to a nice ticket lead. Beastmen really need to start securing these objectives. They've been playing games a little too long, just value trading up top here, when they've had an open path to the number 2 for a little while now. You really don't want to be in a position where you're trying to take 2 caps and you've only got, you know, like, your opponent has up to like 1,400 tickets. It might be too little too late for the Beastmen here, unfortunately. Maybe with a little bit more focus on bringing some cap weight up onto the field and bringing Morger forward with the Jabberslythe to hold on the objectives and trade here in the late game, might be in a little bit better position. It's going to be razor close no matter what. This cap can still come in time. These infantry need to be advancing now, though. Finally get moving. The cap weight is not moving on the number 3 objective here. One last pit of shade's going to be going down, and that's going to be really nice value-wise, but I can't help but feel like with maybe a little bit more magic early going for the Beastmen, they would have probably taken this game. And taking this number 2 objective, it's been undefended most of the game. I mean, you can see where the concentration of casualties was. All up here on the high ground, as well as the low ground here. Playing the points is very important. And when you've got fights developing where it's just all concentrated in 2 objectives, and there's one that's just completely open, never pass up an opportunity, especially as Beastmen or Greenskins, to throw forward just like an expendable cap weight unit. To try and cap the objective, because either you cap the objective and you start getting some tickets from it, or your opponent starts drawing forces away from the other 2 objectives, where all of the fighting is taking place, and they have to commit a higher value unit over there, which then can leave you in a dominant position on the other fights. Really nice rebound, though, for the Beastmen. Not to take anything away from H4 here. Did a very good job of scrapping back after a pretty rough opening, I would say. Herbal did a really good job of getting in there early with the big buffs from Warzag, who definitely helped carry the game in the early going. And then the Greenskins, able to just hang on for dear life up until the end there. So nicely done by both players. Oh, man. Okay. Let me go check the chat here. We got a couple more replays that people have sent in. Let's go. Counts are awesome, dude. Love them to death. You know what? We'll do some Corn versus Vampire counts. Should be a good time. We've got Lucky Spotify coming in here with a very melee-oriented Corn build. Versus Ninja Jack, who's going with the Strigoi Vampire Lord, backed up by the double White Kings. Is this guy on the Terrorgeist is the question. I think should be. Once you get more experienced and know the costs of lords and stuff a little bit better, you can usually tell at a glance what mounts your opponent's stuff might be on. Yeah, it is on the Terrorgeist, and we've got Shrine... Oh, no, we've got the Juggernaut variant of Skulltaker here. Hell yes, dude. Slayer Sword, Cloak with Revel in Slaughter. Very nice toolkit for Uzul there. Scar Bloodwrath going to be moving up. This was a matchup that I imagined would be really nice for Scar in the early going. Scar did have a really funky effect on Blood Tally for a little while that I believe is patched out now, where Blood Tally would degrade over time if he wasn't getting kills. I think now it's just persistent. And it, you know, it actually racks up over time appropriately. And I always imagined that he would be pretty damn good against the vampire counts. He's gonna absolutely destroy the White Kings. White Kings need to stay the hell away from Scar Bloodwrath here. He will beat them to bits. Bloodstorm Blades should help that fight even more. He's just got so much damage potential with this up. He gets up over, I think he almost gets up to 900 weapon strength with the Bloodstorm Blades active. It is a crazy buff to him. Bloodborne is here. Scaremore's Butchers for the armor sundering and the base weapon strength is here as well. Scar needs to be up with the main infantry corps, though, in my opinion. Really nice breath attack, man. Hitting the Bloodwake Berserkers took 1,800 of their HP off here. Damn, that's strong. Very aggressive dive from Furies in the opening, which I do not recommend as a Khorne main. If the vampire counts just, yeah, get a good invo here, turn the other Cryptors in to support this fight, and the Mortis Engine goes over here, that's going to be 1,300 value of dead Furies. While the Cryptors are going to have taken a bunch of damage, but you can see no models being lost yet. Even if they do lose models, they've still got the regen, and they should be able to persevere through the worst of it, but vampire counts have been a little slow responding to that. Well, I guess this is honestly not bad. You know, Ninja Jack getting the Mortis Engine up in the front line, probably a better call in the longer term, just because there's so many infantry bunched up here. If you see Mortis Engines coming out as Khorne, you really only want to leave like one unit to be ground down by it. This Mortis Engine is going to get fat value here, just grinding away against all of his Marauders. Scar and Skull Taker looking to get after some of the units back here. Corpse Cart takes a bunch of damage, but Skull Taker against the Strigoi Lord, who does have the 35 bonus versus large, as well as really good passive healing, probably not going to favor Uzul in the long term. Strigoi Vampire Lords are very hard to kill in a straight up fight. You don't want to do that too terribly often against them. Mortis Engine and the Crypt Horrors just sucking the life out of the entire Marauder Corps. This is why Marauders, I think, are bad against the Vampire counts. They just break so easily. If they get terrified and then their leadership breaks while they're terrified, and they're put into this routing state, they can just get chased off the field so easily by like Fellbats and Direwolves that it's just going to put you down really hard. Something that you cannot afford against the Vampires. Khorne's matchup is a lot better than it once was, but I think a really good Vampire Counts player actually has a pretty good time in this matchup. There's so much healing, and with really good micro on your Mortis Engines, the Mortis Engines kill all of the elite Khorne stuff really nicely. You can see here the Bloodwake Berserkers are taking a ton of damage from the Mortis Engine, as well as being focused down by a White King. Cryptors here beating up on some of the scattered models who are a little spread out here. The Bloodwake Berserkers are going to get some pretty good value, but as long as the Mortis Engine sticks around and is finishing them off, they probably won't get much more than paying for themselves. Mind you, that is in one of the worst possible combats they could be taking right now. Skull Taker has just gotten isolated out here against the Strigoi Ghoul King. Dire Pack underfoot now, and just absolutely ices the Herald of Khorne's Fury there. Strigoi Ghoul King looking dominant as usual. 2,200 value on this guy. Crypt Horrors moving up to beat down on these poor Marauders. Nice sword coming down. But if you're down in value with your Lord dead and gone for Khorne, and you're forced to drop your Sword of Khorne on Skeleton Spearmen and Zombies, it's not a very good position for you to be in. This high ground fight's starting to go a lot better for Khorne. The Mortis Engine, though, is still sitting in here, getting some fat value. You can see, I mean, it hits everything in here. It even does good damage against Minotaurs. Minotaurs are a very strong counter to the Mortis Engine, but as long as it's not surrounded, you can see here, it's just, like, getting some collision damage against these guys. And that Reliquary Corruption, the 16 to 32 damage per second, it does apply to the Minotaur's HP pool, and because they're a monstrous infantry unit, the way that it procs is it hits a handful of the models, and it takes that HP out of each of them, and really, really screws them up. I mean, they really cannot afford to grind against a Mortis Engine. They have to either get in when this thing is in the open field and beat it down immediately, or they want to try and just maneuver away from it and go support other areas of the fight on the battlefield. Khorne is honestly doing alright, though. A really good jump with the Furies, getting on top of these Direwolves out here, stopping them up. Could use them to kill the Dire Pack, maybe. Scar Bloodwrath has been doing great so far. Blood Tally is very nicely charged. If Skulltaker were still on the field, I would say that Khorne would be in a winning position. They do have a little bit of a value lead, but they still haven't killed the Mortis Engine. Minotaurs are starting to get a surround off. Ninja Jack has got to get this Mortis out of here. It's got regen. You need to pull it away from all of the damage dealers here and try to get it into a safer spot where it can just sit and regen for a little while, provide some healing elsewhere on the battlefield also. And then just, I would withdraw from this engagement. Like, get these Graveguard out of here, get the Strigoi Ghoul King and the White King out of here if you can. There's a little too much up here for Khorne. They're committing more infantry here. They do get a good terror route, though, which is really nice. Minotaurs are hanging in here, though, man. Heavy metal Minos, but they should be dead and gone now. Halberds collapse on the rear of them. The Ghoul King is here and does finally get some good damage on these guys. Should be able to clean that fight up now. Number 3 objective held by Khorne. The number 1 still held by the Vampires. They are flipping the cap weight back. Direwolves coming in. More Cryptars moving up. I really love the commitment to the Cryptars, but they're very weak against throwing axes, which fortunately Khorne didn't have on the field. Honestly, I would think that 3 in the opening is more than enough for the durable monsters infantry power. And then what you can do is bring Vargeist in from that point. As long as Vargeist aren't taking one-on-ones versus Furies, they can do some serious damage getting rear charges on Khornate infantry. Like up here on the high ground, having a Vargeist to get a rear charge onto this Chaos Warrior and Marauder Brick probably break their leadership immediately, especially with some dive bombing from the Ghoul King. But they're doing well enough. Scar Bloodwrath is like the only thing on the field that there are no answers for. You can see him here just grinding away, but he's just getting surrounded by stuff, slowly getting chipped down, and then fruitlessly chasing the higher value targets that he's never really going to catch. So that's his one drawback. He's quite slow. 46 foot speed isn't bad, but you can see exhausted and then getting poisoned, all these other various effects, really slowing him up. Does finally get into contact with the engine here. Gets some big damage, but not before 2400 value comes in on this thing. Very powerful unit. Has to be killed by Khorne. That is your literal number 1 threat. If you kill the Mortis Engine and nothing else in the opening, then you're honestly doing pretty good. Cryptars have broken all of the Khorne infantry on the high ground. Black Coach comes out. I love the Black Coach, man. It should just honestly stay chasing down these routing infantry for a minute. Grind up some of the abilities on it, which are activatable by the number of entity deaths around it. But it does look like not a bad idea. Going to the low ground, trying to support against the remainder of the Chaos Warriors that are moving up onto the point. Trying to take the number 2 here. I think more demons would have been nice. You know, Bloodletters have pretty low armor. They're vulnerable to Scab Scrape. But Scab Scrape does get mitigated by the spell resistance that the demons have innately. It doesn't do as much punishing damage as it would against other infantry units. Keeping Bloodletters together with Uzul and Scar Bloodwrath, you'd probably grind through the front line pretty quickly. Once you kill the Chaff for the vampire counts, and they're engaging their Cryptars in the front line with no protection, That's when you can really do some good damage against these guys. You get out your Minotaurs, you can support your Chaos Warriors and the like. Skull Crushers are definitely going to be able to put in some big work here. We'll see if they're able to finish this Crypt Horror off quickly enough to maybe start getting back in this game. It's honestly still pretty close. I'd like to see Khorne not commit more to the high ground. This has been the single worst area that they've been performing. They've been doing alright on the low ground here, but they're just trickling in a little too much, and committing to fights where the vampire counts are all nicely blobbed up is definitely a huge mistake. Mortis Engine, with almost 3,000 value now, Ninja Jack has been on point with that freaking Mortis Engine, man. Beautiful play with it so far. Dire Pack just maneuvering around, getting jumped on by Furies again. This is probably one of the matchups where the Dire Pack does the worst. There are definitely targets they can get after and do well against, like Blood Beasts. Even surrounding like the large Khorne Lords in a pinch can do pretty well. But typically they're going to get massively out-traded by Furies, and they also get flattened by Fleshhounds pretty badly. Against a regular Fleshhound they do okay. Against the Khorne Arawar, Hound of the Blood Hunt, the Dire Pack just get absolutely ripped to pieces with one good charge from those things. Fury's committing to a ground fight here against an anti-infantry chariot, as well as the Crypt Horrors, and getting collapsed on. Absolutely obliterated. Very good micro there. That's how you deal with Furies. Furies have really good weapon strength and can do some serious damage. But just getting rear charges with cheap units, it's oftentimes going to be all you need to do to crumble their leadership, especially with the Khorne Lord being dead. And having been dead for as long as he's been gone. You can see it's just not been a good situation. The frenzy on these guys gives them the immunity psychology. The second frenzy wears off, you start getting affected by fear. You can see they're frightened by enemy units, -8 leadership. And then terror routes are just an ever-present risk that you really just can't afford to have inflicted upon you. Have to keep your lords alive against vampire counts. And playing with mortals is just risky business, too, honestly. I mean, I don't know how many terror routes we've seen this game, but I swear we've seen almost 24 of them at this point. And the second these guys break, you see they just get absolutely mopped up by all of the mobility from the vampire counts. I honestly believe that demons are the better option into the vampires. Despite their low armor, they're usually going to be a little bit more consistent. A Bloodletter is going to be just as good at peeling the front line open as a Chosen of Khorne is. They're going to do it a little bit slower than the Chosen, but you're spreading your cap weight around a little bit better. Because these guys are 1450 gold, and the Bloodwake Berserkers are 1750. If you cut these guys, cut all the Marauders, I'll show a build that I think is pretty good against vampire counts. It's no guarantee, just like anything in this game. You can bring this guy on the Bulldog if you want to. I think he's better on the Blood Throne against the vampires, but that's my personal opinion. Keep him on the Juggernaut here. Revel in Slaughter. Cloak of Skulls, Slayer's Sword was the kit. I don't know if you really need the Cloak of Skulls, honestly, against the vampires. Immune to Flanking is still very nice, but Bloody Onslaught is such a good debuff. Popping this on top of any enemy unit is immediately going to make them incredibly vulnerable to your grinding melee damage that you just have tons of access to on your roster. Just bring a bunch of Bloodletters in the opening. You bring like 2 or 3 Marauder Horsemen. These guys are on Crypt Horror, Corpse Cart, and Mortis Engine duty. That's all they do. They don't engage in melee combat unless they're charging down a Direwolf or rear charging a Vargeist or something. Just keep them back. grind into the mortis engines and stuff with their throwing axes, do big damage that way. Spawn, honestly, not bad here. You can bring Scar in the reinforcements, maybe. He's so expensive is the problem. You're giving up a lot of battlefield control by bringing such a weighty character core. And Scar Bloodwrath is very good at supporting with Scaremore's Butchers. I mean, this is an effect range type of ability. It's a passive that's a 35-meter range. Imbues Sundered Armor onto everything, which is great for Marauders. That will help them uptrade into just about everything. I don't know how useful it is against the Vampire counts. Honestly, the only armored stuff that you're going to be facing is Graveguard. And that's where your Bloodletters come in. You don't even need to bring them along here in this matchup. And if you want to, honestly, what you can do to try and kill the White Kings is just bring a couple of Blood Reapers on foot. I mean, they're two of them, the same cost as Scar just about. And they're really tough to kill because of the Bloody Shackle. They get a fat heal. It's 48%. I mean, they basically heal cap themselves. They don't have 4,000 value or 4,000 HP, these guys. Blood Reapers actually have 5,800 HP, because that's how much healing they get from Bloody Shackle. They've got flaming and magical attacks. They're good against ethereal units. They're good against the White Kings. They're good against the Mortis Engine. And even though White Kings have magical attacks in their own right, now that these guys get that fat heal, as long as they're stuck together and they're not getting isolated and double-teamed, they should be able to win those fights. And if Skulltaker is next to them, forget about it. They win that fight any day of the week. They will absolutely own that shit. You can bring some Skull Reapers in reserve if you want to. They're honestly not bad here. I think Brutes of the Hound are a really good infantry option. You just want to be able to bring stuff that can clear chaff, and then Corngores aren't bad either. They kill zombies pretty well, just because zombies suck in combat. These guys have okay melee attack with Frenzy and Primal Fury up, and they obviously have the immunity psychology from both of those. As well as this Unbreakable, once they get down to half HP, which can help them against Mortis Engines if they're grinding into a Mortis Engine. The Mortis Engine gets them down to less than half HP. This procs, and then they're resistant for the duration that they're available on the battlefield. To just grind in there and get as much value as possible. It's honestly pretty nice. You can probably bring something like that for your infantry corps. I really love Spawn against the vampires. They're unbreakable. They're going to just grind all day. And not being susceptible to tear routes, I think, is a little more important than the pure DPS that they provide. Because I think that Spawn sitting on top of a Corngore is a brick that not a lot of Vampire Counts units are going to be able to deal with. Like, if your opponent wants to bring Blood Knights to try and charge down the Spawn, which is honestly a pretty good choice for them, you just run the Spawn into the Corngores, and then the Corngores counter the Corngores counter the Blood Knights. Your opponent sends in, like, waves of zombies and whatnot to try and, like, grind through the Corngores slowly. That's where the Spawn come in. They can put a pretty good beat down on all this infantry. You need to play a very, like, boxy type of build with some very powerful mobility in order to win this matchup. You can bring one Fury. They're fine. Not incredible, though. Where can we get some more value here? You could bring one Mino, but probably just still going cheap. And doing something like this is better. You win the grind fight if you fully commit to it, and don't bring a bunch of chaff for the Vampire Counts to feast on. Thanks, Fix-It. I appreciate it. We'll get back into the replays now. I went on a really long tangent. I'm just very passionate about Khorne. They're my main. I have to talk about them and give people advice whenever I see the opportunity. They're a much harder faction than people give them credit for. I don't know where people got this idea that Khorne is an easy faction to play. I do think they're pretty new player friendly, but that doesn't make them easy. High Elves versus Skaven sounds like a good time. This was one of my favorite matchups when I used to play, what little multiplayer I used to play in Warhammer 2. Skaven versus High Elves was always hilarious. I mean, Skaven are just a ridiculous faction in general. And the vision of these elite, thousands of years old elven warriors being dragged down by a bunch of smelly, disgusting, disease-ridden rat people is just beautiful. You love to see it. Nothing better than watching the British get beaten by a bunch of peasants. So, Grace is rolling in here with a pretty big, cheap front line. Lots of Rangers. Illyrian Reaver's going to be grabbing points early. 3 of those guys. You've got some Lothern Seaguard. Where's the Lothern Seaguard? No Lothern Seaguard. Oh, there they are. Couple of them in the woods here. Rocking up. They're going to be advancing up to the edge of the tree line here. And probably just forming a nice little missile line and doing some good damage there from there. While the Spearmen, probably committing both of them to holding this high ground objective is a good idea. And then you want to use your Rangers just to, like, push and press the Skaven infantry as much as possible. Very ugly for the High Elves so far. I know it says they're up on gold damage value. I would say that's very deceptive considering they've got a half-health Illyrian Reaver out here on the flank. I don't know why that's not being reflected up top here. Very good cast from Icket. Icket le Griff. What a great name. Drops a good brass orb. Hits the Rangers. Takes about 10% of their HP off. One very dead Illyrian Reaver cav out here. Skaven are a bizarre faction. Their value, their gold damage, and what they do just does not get reflected up top here accurately ever, it seems. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen myself with like a significant gold value lead and the Skaven just have like a full army left out on the field and I'm down to like absolute nubbins. It's ridiculous. I don't know what it is about this that's so skewed. But cost-effective fire coming in from the Night Runners. Chipping down the Rangers pretty nicely, but the Rangers in a really good fight here. These Eshin Triads are getting absolutely handled right now. They're going to probably be dead and gone quite quickly here, with the Rangers still very healthy. Lothern Seaguard definitely want to shoot down the Night Runners. The reason the Night Runners held up so well is their physical resistance of 20%, and Illyrian Reavers are a strong cav unit, but they can be a little lackluster at times, getting through units that have innate resistances. Icket chilling up top here. Hasn't gotten a ton of value, but gets a good Flensing Rumen off. Upgraded Flensing Rumen, no less. It's going to do some big damage to the Archmage there. While Icket is going to get a little bit ham on the front line now that the Death Magic has been pushed back some. Running over the Rangers here. Big break in the middle position. Raki and their Doomflayers having a field day against the infantry here. One Doomflayer is routing, though, now. Only 400 value on it. The Illyrian Reavers should follow that up and try and chase it back as far as possible. There's really nothing back here that's going to catch these Illyrian Reavers right now. The Avalanche Mortars are coming out. This is actually pretty risky for the Skaven. They don't have anything to protect these guys. The Skaven Slave Slingers certainly aren't going to be able to get it done, and the Illyrian Reavers and War Lions doing a very good job of pressing through the front line here. Definitely don't want to be committing to this fight here. The second you see the Avalanche Mortars open up, you should try and commit something back here to shutting that down. You've got a Flying Lord as well. Flying Lords against Skaven can usually shut down the weapon teams pretty nicely. You just have to be careful of Rat Ogres coming in to blob them up. Really good micro from Grace. Gets right after the Avalanche Mortars with the War Lions. War Lions are going to get an obscene amount of value here. They should be able to finish off the Avalanche Mortars. Really good call-in of the Wolf Rats to try and buffer here. But the Avalanche Mortars are a little too trapped up. They do break. They are probably going to route back pretty damn far now, too. So then the Wolf Rats breaking as well. Oh my god. War Lion's completely free to finish off this fight here if Grace is able to recognize the opportunity. They're pretty unengaged right now. There's a handful of Wolf Rats in their path from the other unit. But other than that, if you just go after the Avalanche Mortars here, that's a very dead 1,700 gold weapon team. Getting you some really nice battlefield control here, man. Lothern Seaguard firing in here, getting some pretty good value up to this point. And really good micro. Push the rats back, capped the objective, and then moves the 2 missile units up onto point. These guys are very good position holders. They've got the silver shield to persevere through missile fire. They've got 52 melee defense. And they've got 165 meter range, and they can actually cover both objectives here. You know, they can just, like, fire from all the way over here and get to the edge of the number 2 objective. Support there. And still have plenty to do. They're not going to be useless just sitting on this point. You know, the Elves doing pretty nicely, but they're not holding anything other than the number 3 objective right now. Number 2 is still being held by the Raki here. Eshin Triad's going to be doing some big damage to these Silver Helms. Definitely need to pull out there. Really good focus from Grace. Archmage getting Ikit very low here. Sniping Ikit is definitely the play here. Definitely needs to just full commit to this. Getting some good damage with the Eagle. Eagles aren't terrible combatants. I mean, yeah, their melee attack is only like 44, which isn't great. But with martial prowess, they've got decent melee defense at least, and the armor-piercing weapon damage really isn't too terrible for a non-majority AP unit. Good choice here, sending the Rangers to the low ground just to eat all this damage, while the Silver Helms are able to run down the Wolf Rats as well as these Clan Rat Spears. Should be able to push in and run down the other spear. And we really need to shut down the Avalanche Mortars again. Did a really good job of countering them the first go-around. You just can't leave these guys to shoot at all. I mean, even when they've lost, you know, a third of their model count, they can still do some really good damage. Really nice micro from these War Lions. They rallied back here in the woods. They jump on top of the Avalanche Mortars. 200 HP left. They probably won't even rally, and they actually do shatter. You can just disengage from them here. Leave these 3 models to rat off, and they're never going to hit the edge of the map before this game is over. And fully secured, I think. Lothern Seaguard did pull off of the number 3 objective. The Raki are eventually going to cap that. The Doomflayers are really the only thing out here that's left for the Skaven that's of any real danger to the High Elf army. You can see they get some really good work done against these Lotherns. The Lotherns are just completely unsupported out here right now. I don't care how good of a unit you are. I mean, if you're just surrounded like this by tides of disgusting beasts, probably not gonna be loving your life and hanging in there very well. They take a ton of damage. Both Lothern and Seaguard are routing, but the Raki force here, you know, with their Lord dead and gone now, probably not going to be able to hang around too much longer. War Lions are chasing down the Doomflayers and have gotten some really good value, man. 1,400 value on a War Lion. That's pretty damn nice, considering they cost 850 gold, I think. Maybe 900. Very, very decent value from them. Spears and Silver Helms fighting Rat Ogres. If these Spears were a little bit healthier, I would say that you want to disengage the Silver Helms here. But honestly, I think the Spearmen need the assistance. You want to just stick around with the Silver Helms as long as you can with the Spears poking down the Rat Ogres. But now that they're broken, probably want to pull back out of there. Don't love using heavy cavalry against Rat Ogres. Rat Ogres are pretty cost-efficient against cavalry. Illyrian Reavers are a little bit better of an option than sending a Silver Helm in. With Silver Helms, if you don't get the charge off against the Rat Ogre, you're probably going to lose the combat. You can see how much damage they've taken grinding in here against this unit, man. Very nice break on this Rat Ogre unit. Committing to chasing it down is going to be really nice. You want to chase routing Skaven units as much as possible. Because the more routing units that the other Rackies see on the field, the worse their leadership is going to get. You know, there are a lot of expendable cap-weight units out on the field that the Skaven field. But the more stuff you break, the worse it's going to get for them. Especially when their leader is dead. You want to try and, you want to just try and bunker bust positions. And send as many of the rats fleeing as possible. You can see here that -6 from the Friends routing. It really stacks up, especially when you can get some good rear charges against them. Eagle flying overhead, going to get on top of these Night Runners. Night Runners a little too isolated now. Don't have any support near them. The Illyrian Reavers probably going to struggle if they didn't have the help of the Eagle here, but they do get some support from the Lord, and they should be able to clean this fight up. And the Night Runners routing is really going to help that. Illyrian Reavers just going to farm them up. High Elves need to be careful. They don't really want to play too hard into fighting on the high ground here. They're pretty thin on the number 3 objective. The tickets are really close. I know that you're in a much better position strategically. Having your Lord and the enemy's Lord being dead. But this can be how you fumble games away. By split pushing a little too much, especially when you just let Skaven run up onto the objective here on the number 3. There's plenty of Raki here. They should be able to cap this, and then maybe they can start pushing onto the number 2 here. High ground is not going too well for them. Really good micro getting the Illyrian Reavers onto the back of these Plague Monks. Plague Monks were doing alright into the Rangers and the Spearmen, but with some good cycle charges, you can see, able to break them up, and probably going to put the rest of them to flight here. Rat Ogre's barely hanging on. A good rear charge from the Eagle now would break those guys as well. Rangers moving up, trying to stem the tide of the rats onto this point. Probably not going to do too well against the Plague Monks. Plague Monks actually beat Rangers, which is a little weird. You wouldn't really expect that to be the case. They just have better stats overall. You can see the bonus versus infantry is kind of what the Rangers are reliant on. And Plague Monks have pretty much the same stats at base, and they also get a similar bonus. As well as having the same physical resist. Or almost the same. Actually 5% difference, but Plague Monks actually able to grind into Rangers a little bit better. I think Rangers also have a lot less HP. 7,500 versus, yeah, 9,000. Oof. There's a big difference. Elf Infantry having such low HP is one of the things that holds them back a lot. That's why you see Life Casters oftentimes with the High Elves. Earthblood is very good at supporting your front line with all these squishy infantry units on the field, man. We can probably fast forward through this. The Skaven are really trickling out a little too much. They're just like, they're split pushing a ton here. You know, like I've said before in some of the other games, when you get into a position where you're behind on value, especially if you're behind by almost 5,000, you're better off just disengaging, trying to rally up, and then refocus onto one objective where you can value trade a little bit, and then maybe start thinking about taking other points. Clanrat Spears, fighting against the Illyrian Reavers, Eshin Triads, do mop those guys up. Big break in the middle here. Lots of running rats, man. They've just been on the retreat most of this mid to late game here. High Elves are locking down pretty much every objective, barely holding on to the number 1 point. That is just rude, man. You know, the rats are trying to salvage a little bit of reputation here. The High Elves came in and slapped them down with their aristocratic gazes. And that's going to be GG's. Doomflayers did amazingly, man. Once those were offline, though, it was pretty much the High Elf show. They just have a little bit more cost-effective mobility. You can see the War Lions doing big work. 1,300 and 2,200. I honestly really like Rahager's Pride in this matchup, too. Rahager's Pride are the ROR War Lions, and they get a leadership debuffing aura. I think it's -8. Any leadership malices that you can stack on Skaven units is big money for you. Oftentimes, the best thing you can do against a Skaven frontline is beat it by not actually grinding through their HP. You don't want to fight clan rats as much as you want to be targeting down the actual strong units that the Skaven have, like their weapon teams and the Doomflayers, Rat Ogres. It's a little unavoidable that you have to fight these guys in melee combat, but that's why I'm saying the more you can do with less, the better you're gonna perform against the Skaven. Coast versus Lizardmen, and then we'll move on to some of the round 2 matchups. I've been seeing so much of Dried Floodplain, man. Oh, prop from campaign where they snowball hard. Fair, fair. For Brosi versus Kramer, Kramer really loves the Saurus Old Blood, which I respect immensely. This is honestly not a bad unit. I mean, it's discount Krotgar, you know. Does have some pretty decent abilities and items in his own right, though. Hand of the Gods is what Krotgar has, as well as the spawning of Jwaddle, which gives him physical resistance and vigor reduction, which is really strong. Both of those abilities make Krotgar pretty unrivaled in melee fights. There are, of course, units that can beat him, but this guy is a little bit better at supporting the army. Horn of Kygor gives melee attack, charge bonus, and leadership, as you can see there. 35-meter effect range, and, you know, a pretty short cooldown of 90 seconds. Lasts for 20 seconds as well. It can definitely help your front line tremendously, especially if you go with Saurus Warriors and, like, Red-Crested Skinks. That extra 24 melee attack can really help these guys shine with their good weapon strength. Silostra on the Big Crab, not super surprising to see. That seems to be a pretty meta option. You just have a ton of HP on these crabs, and that helps Silostra out immensely. And the Lore of Deeps is pretty damn good. Tide Call, Denizens, very strong spells. Song of Enthrallment available here as well, with the speed reduction and melee attack reduction. Goes to the Pass, of course, and Kiss of the Deeps, which I don't think is a very good lore passive, but every little bit of damage can help out for sure. Amulet of Itzel is available on the Old Blood. Stand Your Ground also here. Foe Seeker, yeah, I mean, just, honestly, Foe Seeker and Stand Your Ground. Stand Your Ground can work if you're really good with your micro. I don't think it's that great, though. But if you really want to bring it, there's a justification for it. Foe Seeker is not really worth anything. Like, the Vigor Reduction, in theory is nice, but I don't really find many opportunities to use this. And I think you'd be better off just, like, pulling your Lord out of combat entirely and just letting them rest. Rev Crystal wandering forward, very spread out formation for the Lizards. Capping all 3 objectives early is really nice. They need to play very cautiously engaging this front line, though. There are a lot of Gunnery Mob bombers here. And the bombers will absolutely destroy every single frontline infantry unit that the Lizardmen have out now. Even Saurus. Saurus only have 60 armor. Bomber mobs. Their explosive base damage is 15. And 60 armor is only going to mitigate like 30% of that, give or take. And that really starts to add up. You don't want to be struggling through all that. A deck dropper bomber coming in as well, and the first volley's going off from the bomber mobs, wrecking these skink cohorts. Getting a little bit of friendly fire in here, though, which the bombers need to be very cautious of. You don't want to blow too many of your own zombies up. The second volley is a lot more accurate, though. It does a lot more damage to the skinks. That's going to give the deckhand mobs a nice path up onto the Saurus and the skink cohorts. And the bombers can scoot forward, support that fight as well. Morngul's moving in to counter the red-crested skinks. Really nice choice there. I just don't understand the choice of red-crested skinks here. They're a good unit in other matchups for sure. Against the very lightly armored Vampire Coast, though, this is not the choice. Like, maybe situationally good against Depth Guard, but even against Depth Guard, they're going to struggle a little bit just because they're low armor. And the high weapon strength of Depth Guard means that they're going to get killed outright in a lot of circumstances from those dual weapon warriors. Now, Kramer's getting a nice value lead in the opening. I think a lot of that, though, is damage on Silostra, because the frontline fight is not looking great. Some Feral Cold Ones did find their way onto some of the bomber mobs back here. We've got some other bombers that are a little bit inactive. They definitely need to support against the Saurus and the skink cohort here. If this bomber mob gets a good couple volleys off here, that should be a crushing victory for the Vampire Coast. Morngul's doing a pretty good job of grinding in here. Source Warriors do break through the front line. Feral Cold Ones are being used very well right now. And the Ripper Dactyls have been pretty nice. They've killed one of the deck dropper bombers up top here. Really good tide call. Now they're getting after the bomber mobs back here, pushing them away from the fight. These bomber mobs get jumped on by the Feral Cold Ones here. You know, Fabrosi has to be able to get maximum value out of the bombs. It's absolutely critical that you do that if you're going to be bringing them. They're very short range. They're very hard to utilize properly. If you're not super confident in being able to use the bomber mobs, handguns are also really good against the Lizardmen. Just because their AP is really nice against big monsters, as well as shooting down cohorts and even Source Warriors. Because all of the Lizardmen infantry only have bronze shields, you can value trade against them pretty effectively with mass handgun fire. Bombers finally get on target and immediately flip this fight around, but the front line for the Vampire Counts took a ton of damage in all of the time it took for them to get active. More bombs hitting the Saurus Warriors up top here. Still hanging in are the Morngul's. The Morngul's have cleared a lot of the skink infantry. Fabrosi racking up some decent supplies here, looking to get out and maybe get after Saurus Warriors with the Sirens here. Sirens are a very good counter against a lot of Lizard units. Lizardmen don't have a lot of magic attacks on their units. Surprisingly enough, or maybe unsurprisingly, I'm not super familiar with their actual lore. But you would figure that the lizard people with all the slans and other type of like magical creatures that they hang out with on a regular basis, they would have a little bit more access to magic attacks. But I do find that Cairn Wraiths and Sirens and units of this caliber can honestly do pretty nicely against them. And Charmed is really good against lizards, because it lowers a flat -8 on the melee attack of units. And if there's one thing that Lizardmen don't have, a lot of it's units with good base values in melee attack. It's honestly pretty low. I mean, 29 is pretty piss poor for a melee infantry unit. Really the thing that carries Source Warriors is the weapon strength they've got. That's usually how the Lizards outperform their opponents. Bloody Reaver, Depth Guard get up on the number 1. I would probably just leave these guys here the rest of the game, honestly. You do need something that can chew through stuff pretty quickly. Especially, like, you know, Lizards love to swarm in the late game with just tons of skink cohort. Bloody Reaver, Depth Guard have good enough combat stats, they would be able to chew through them pretty quickly. Probably defend this objective pretty well. Sirens looking to secure the number 2. Number 3 objective held on pretty securely here. Excuse me. Vampire Coast has nothing down here. They've got some handguns and gunnery mobs moving up. The Black Spot, look at that focus fire, man. Beautiful stuff, wrecking the Feral Cold Ones. Black Spot also have the halberds, so they should be able to hold up against any Feral Cold One pressure in the late game. Just slow pushing them up and trying to shoot off the Source Old Blood and the remainder of these skink cohorts should be more than enough to win the day for the Vampire Coast. Celestia fighting the Ripperdactyls here have just been ripping into everything this game. Some more deck droppers come out. This is the pistol variant. Should be a little easier to keep these guys alive as opposed to the bomber variant. Bomber variant's a little bit shorter range. So, deck droppers with that little bit of extra distance from their target might be able to respond a little bit better. Temple Guard coming out here with Cold One Riders looking to grind into the Sirens and the Night Terrors. If the Morghuls weren't here, I would say it'd be okay to grind into the Sirens, but this is very risky business. Both of these units have Terror. Once the leadership on the Temple Guard and the Cold One Riders starts to drop, might see some terror routes come down, which would be very devastating for this blob. But they're doing pretty good grinding in here, honestly. Celestia looks to be maneuvering over. Celestia has gotten 1200 value, which isn't too bad. The Borderload Flabellum, you know, power recharge and decreases cooldowns on all of her stuff. She's been doing a pretty good job of casting this game. No more Denizens of the Deep, but Tide Call is still on the table. Wow, look at this, man. The Temple Guard and the Feral, or not the Feral Cold Ones, the Cold One Riders, able to persevere here, getting some big damage on these Morghuls. Finally rearing down the Sirens. They are definitely going to crumble out here in a moment. The Night Terrors might not be too far behind. They did get a little bit safer pulling back. Now they're just chipping down some of the overextended Cold One Riders. There we go. We finally get a terror route in here for the Vampire Coast. They have got to cap these objectives, though, man. They are just struggling to get cap weight forward. Lizards did a very good job of pushing onto the back line. They shut a lot of the bombers down. Some of the bombers got some really fat value, but Fabrosi was a little slow reacting with some of the others. I think that's really affected the way that this game is played out, because you know, Vampire Coast pushed up onto the number 1 and did a pretty good job over there. But here in the middle and on the number 3 is where they got overwhelmed. You can see, I mean, there's just tons of dead zombies, and Ripperdactyls pushed way off the front line where they've just been value trading against the really low quality units for the Vampire count, or the Vampire Coast. Source Old Blood's been pretty great too. Only 660 value. I would be willing to bet that the Horn of Kygor has been doing some pretty good work buffing up a lot of the units here. Probably one of the reasons why the Lizards did so well over here. Nice javelin fire and good durable cap weight in the late game ends up prevailing for the Lizards. Very nicely done by them, winning on the cap race and doing a very good job in the early game of mitigating as much damage as possible, keeping just enough of their units online in the late game to be able to stuff the Vampire Coast back. The Bomber Bats were probably the weakest link in this army. They really didn't get a lot done. The Ripperdactyls were just all over them all game. 1,750 value on these guys. It's really nice. I didn't even see the Umbral Tide or where they went. They must have done something, though. They got a little bit of value, but not much to speak of. Feral Cold Ones were nice. This one got 172 kills. This is probably the one in the early game that killed the bomber mob and was just running rampant through the back line. Really good value on those guys. Love to see good Feral Cold One play. They're a pretty tough unit to make use of because they do rampage. Their HP is decently chunky, but their combat stats are kind of poor. They're pretty reliant on their charge bonus to get damage done, as well as the AP weapon strength. Yeah, it's Lane. It was a good game. Beastmen are very strong. You did a very good job of playing the mobility aggressively against your opponent. Beastman Nurgle. Oh, another Counts versus Khorne matchup. Hell yes, dude. How many vampire count? We've got a lot of Khorne versus vampire counts today. That is very interesting. I can't remember the last time I've seen more than, like, one game of that getting played in a tournament. More Beastmen versus Lizardmen, some Khorne versus Greenskins, Greenskins versus Vampire Counts, Ogres versus Khorne. Got a ton of replays here. I'm probably not going to be able to get through all of them today, but I'll probably do a separate stream where I just focus on trying to do all of the replays that I get, that I don't actually finish up with today. Hold on, I did this backwards. Whoops. Okay. Hold on. No, what have I done? We're all in here. Please recognize this game. Okay, there we go. CA's lobbies and some of the backbones, back-end stuff for Warhammer 3 really is some Tzeentchian shenanigans, I swear, man. I don't know what we want to watch right now. There's a lot of really good matchups to choose from. Seen some Counts versus Khorne already, so I'm probably going to hold off on casting these other ones for a bit. I am very curious to see how they go, though. High Elves versus Coast. Pretty unfavorable for the Vampire Coast, in my experience. The massive range on the archers for the High Elves is pretty dominant more often than not. Let's watch some Wood Elves versus Skaven. Mini Scout's really loving the Doomflayers. I do think Doomflayers are very strong still. A lot of people have fallen out of love with them because they got nerfed, but really they're fine. They're just, you know, very hyper-specialized as opposed to being anti-everything. So people drifted away from them for a bit. Bringing them in here, though, against the Wood Elves is a pretty good option. Wood Elves have a lot of foot-based infantry that are very vulnerable to chariot-type units. So if Mini Scout is really on point with a micro on those things, which was in the matchup we saw earlier against Grace, maybe the Skaven can take this game here. It's a very small Skaven army. It's very rare that you see 10 units in an opener for the Skaven. 2 Stormvermin Halberds, 3 Clanrat Spears, 1 Skaven Slave Slinger. It with all the goodies. On the Doom Wheel has the unlimited power, Brass Orb, Storm Demon, and Flensing Ruin. Good options. Flensing Ruin should be able to kill Drycha without too many problems. Wood Elves definitely don't want to play with their Caster and Waystalker close together. It's a lot of value to give up, and really good recognition from Farrig. Just pulling these guys apart. They need to just stay away from one another, you know. No hugs for Drycha today. Firing the Arrow of Kurnus into the Storm Vermin, actually getting some good damage. Pretty nice value on that. I think shooting Ikit probably would be a little stronger still, though. Killing Skaven leadership is pretty awesome, and Wood Elves can definitely do it. They've got good enough missile play to be able to pull it off. Lots of Deepwood Scouts going to be opening up here in a moment. They're all targeting Icket. I don't know why they're not shooting yet. Definitely a little odd. Maybe it's because of the tents here? Oh my god, come on, Wood Elves, please. Deepwood Scout, y'all are supposed to be these, like, incredible bowmen, and you're sitting here holding your fire this long. Finally opening up, get a little bit of damage on Icket. None of these guys have, AP. Which is definitely going to be pretty hard to get through the 110 armor that Icket's got available to him. Maybe some Starfire Shafts coming out would be really nice. We've got some Stagnites as the first summon for the Wood Elves here. They'll be really good against these Doomflayers. The Doomflayers definitely need to be dealt with before they start flattening all the infantry here. War Dancers are a great unit, but they're very low armor. And doesn't matter how good your melee defense is, you cannot survive being charged down. Shock damage is exactly how you counter units in the caliber of War Dancers. Just stay away from them, try to engage them with chaff, and then hammer them with the mobile units that can do good shock damage. Rat Ogres come in, run over these War Dancers. War Dancers in full route there. Wood Elves with a little bit of a value lead. Need to be very cautious, though. They could very easily get swept up here if the engagements are not handled appropriately. Wild Riders trying to get on top of Rat Ogres and end up running into a horde of AP units here. Or, sorry, not AP, but anti-large units here. You got the Storm Vermin, you got the Clan Rat Spears. Really good micro, though, from Farrag, pulling out of that situation. Trying to kite back. A big Flint and Ruin goes down from Icket, wrecking Drycha. Drycha responding with Enfeebling Foe, trying to debuff Icket, maybe to stand and fight against him. Stagnites coming in, chasing after him. Mini Scout doing a very good job of wheeling and dealing right now, and going to be dragging the Knights into the Spears and the Halberds here. Ah, Natty Bubo's Sharpshooters coming out now. Love Natty Bubos, man. One of the hardest hitting RWAR units in the game. And very good choice against the Wood Elves. Wood Elves normally love counter-firing enemy missiles, but these guys having Stalk and Snipe, obviously they're invisible, so the spotting is going to be very important. Like, Glade Riders would have to get up. You'd have to commit your Deepwood Scouts pretty far forward to shoot down the Sharpshooters. The best bet for shutting these guys down as Wood Elves is using a Glade Rider on a deep flank that you're hoping your opponent doesn't catch. It's pretty tricky, though. It's one of the reasons why it's so nice. Poor Waystalker here in the middle just gets completely flattened by the Storm Vermin and the Doomflayers, who are doing some pretty good damage to this guy, and just immediately ice him. Oh my god, wow. Gets knocked over on his ass and just goes down. Very unceremonious death for that Waystalker, man. Oh my god. Storm Vermin Halberd pushing deep into the backline. Way overextended. Hopefully, though, the Storm Vermin are able to hold for a little bit and maybe grind a little bit of value out here. Farrag, though, isolating them, gets a good rear charge, and they do end up breaking there. Ugh, brutal stuff for those Storm Vermin. They were doing pretty nicely, but you gotta be careful with your infantry as Skaven. You know, even if you're in a winning position, overextending with their infantry can put you on the back foot pretty quickly. And you can see the Wood Elves, despite being down on value, they've still got their Lord available. Race of the Frozen Heart are out. They do get hit by Brass Orb, but Wild Riders are finding a path right onto the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. No protection for these guys is a big mistake. I mean, I don't think I really need to spell that out for anybody, but we're here and we're watching it live in action. You have to protect your weapon teams. You can't just throw all your infantry forward and then count on your opponent not paying attention to stuff like this. Because the Wood Elves just killed probably the most valuable unit you have on the field. Your front line's basically all dead. You've got some Rat Ogres and Clan Rats. Should be able to do a pretty good job of holding on to points. They don't need to be trying to cap an objective away from the Wood Elves in a close game, though. Especially now that you're down in value. That is a losing play. It's not going to work out for you very often. Wood Elves are very good in the mobility game, and their infantry have pretty good leadership. I mean, Eternal Guard are 550 gold, and their base value is 80, which is insane. That's higher than some elite infantry, folks. Trying to break them usually does not work out very well for you. Wolf Rats with poison, absolutely run over by the Wild Riders. The Wild Riders are really carrying the game now for the Wood Elves, which I'm not too shocked by. They are an incredible unit. The Great Stag Knights have 2,700 HP here. What the hell was that? Hello? What was the weird stink cloud? Oh, they killed... Oh my god, they killed Ikit. Wow. Dude, that's disgusting, man. The Stag Knights carrying this game. Really good micro and value from those guys. Good job of preserving Drycha. Drycha's done next to nothing this whole game except for stay alive. And that's really put the Wood Elves in a winning position, ultimately. Deepwood Scouts got some okay value. I'd love to see what the other ones have been able to do. About 800 across the board. Really damn solid. These guys are 700, I believe. The standard Deepwood Scouts. So getting full value back from them, especially against Skaven, who have a bunch of cheap garbage that can be really hard to value trade into, is honestly pretty impressive. Wild Hunters of Kurnus come in, clean up these Rat Ogres. The Storm Vermin Halberds pushed way into the back line, need to be unsummoned. I think they've been forgotten about a little bit. Wood Elves flooding the field and really taking this game over. They're just stuffing the rats back in their own backfield also. More Giselles going down to good dives from Wild Riders, man. Farrag's all over this at this stage of the game. Very nicely played. A little rough in the early going, but staying with it and not losing your cool and patience and doing a good job of doing the feigned retreat tactic. It works in history and it works in this game too, man. Can't tell you how many times you can force your opponent into a losing position just by pulling back your tattered front line and letting them overextend themselves.
I knew it.
Nicely done. Farrag with a very dominant win there. Welf game. We love the Welfs here, man. I'm sorry. They're amazing. I won't hear any Welf slander. Alright. Let me check on the bracket real quick, guys. We should be running up on round 4 right now. We are actually almost done with round 4. This has been a crazy quick tournament, honestly. I mean, I guess... Damn it, dude. I swear, sometimes I just lose track of time while I'm streaming these matches. I've been going for 2 hours already. It just speaks to the entertainment this game provides, man. I can talk about it all freaking day. If I didn't have to... if I didn't have to eat or sleep, we would be here 24/7. Maybe I'll do that for when I get 500 subscribers. I'll do... You know what? I'll make that plan now. 500 subscribers, I'll try and do a 24-hour stream. Not die of sleep deprivation. Nurgle Lizardman. This is a wacky Lizardman build, so of course we have to watch this. We've got Legatus rocking in here with Mazda Mundi, Geltblom's Terror, as well as the Ancient Stegodon with the Engine of the Gods on it, man. Laser beams, frickin' dinosaurs with sharp teeth and whatnot. Okay. Yeah, don't crash out on me, please. Man, oh man. Dr. Evil... I think, you know, Dr. Evil would definitely be a Lizardman enjoyer. Honestly, not really all that villainous of a character if you really break down the Austin Powers films. That's a TED Talk for another day, though. We'll see what the Geltbloms is able to do here. This is a very strong monster. Carnosaur's got collision attacks. They're actually decent against infantry. Nurgle loves to swarm with infantry, and they also love their character play, so having a unit that's pretty decent at both is going to be really awesome for the lizards, especially with the fact that this thing's bonus versus large is 35, and Kasich is a very expensive unit. He's going to be able to beat up on Mazdamundi or the Engine of the Gods in isolation. With all three of these units out on the field, though, it's going to be a very different scenario for him. Kasich's probably going to be the one who's hunted in this matchup. Skink Skirmishers do not need to overextend here. Need to be very careful. You're getting pretty close to your opponent's Vanguard. Nurgle doesn't have a ton of quick units, but one Chaos Knight would clean up all of these skinks pretty quickly. All you've got is the cohort of Sotek to protect them as well, basically. Need to be really cautious there. We'll see how it develops. Fire again on the Marauders and the Plague Bearers. Pretty cost-effective fire from those Skirmishers. Throwing axes getting a little bit of damage on the Geltbloms. Kasich moving over. Kasich is going to be taking a pretty ugly fight, though. Fighting Mazda and the Geltbloms. Probably not the best choice for this guy. And he's kind of pinned between the two, but just barely manages to squeak out. Geltblom's not deterred, though. Pushing into the front line, looking to get after the Chaos Warriors. Does get a little bit of damage in here, but taking a ton of throwing axe fire, man. The throwing axes are going to absolutely feast this game if the Geltbloms just sits here. Beautiful Engine of the Gods use here. Hits all of the Chaos Warriors in the front line. Gets some pretty cost-effective damage. About 500 on the Engine of the Gods so far. Banishment going down, looking to get after all of these warriors as well. Pretty good job of microing away from it for the most part. But it is kind of rotating back towards the heart of the Nurgle Blob. And moving towards the Geltblom's Terror, but wears off before it's finally able to get a bunch of damage. Kasich finds an isolated Geltbloms and absolutely rips this poor thing apart. Oh my god, man. Ouch. Pretty early critical loss for the Lizardmen here. Barons of the Bog fighting some Ripperdactyls as well as the cohort of Sotek. Should be pretty easy fight for them. They're just so damn tanky, dude, and they just debuff everything around them so horrendously. Wasting Sickness and Poison, lowering the weapon strength of the Ripperdactyls pretty significantly. I mean, almost 33%. As long as there's a little bit of support for the Barons of the Bog, they should be alright. I would just probably push the Marauder Horsemen around, and maybe even commit them into the fight just to break the... Oh, wait, now these are the Unbreakable cohort. Never mind. You don't need to commit anything here. You can probably use the Horsemen to try and get the Skink Skirmishers. But focusing down Mazdamundi, a little bit easier of a time for them. Kasich is routing off the Engine of the Gods now. This is game, set, match already. Dak Ninja all over this game. Really good micro on the throwing axes. And uses them to push off the Engine of the Gods. Takes them down. Kasich going after Mazdamundi. I really thought the Lizards would have had a much better time with their SCs, but they really struggled here. Colossadon Hunters actually get in here, though, and kill Kasich. Wow, they killed him quick, too. He is shattered. Don't need to finish him. You can just let him rat off the map now. I do think it might still be game for the Lizards. They're still down almost 4,000 value. The Razordawn Hunting Pack are being chased down by Marauder Horsemen with the throwing axes, who have 1,500 value on these guys. 723 here, which is pretty decent. Where else do we have good engagements for them? Other throwing axe looks like it's been taken offline. Skink Skirmishers have gotten some pretty good work done in their own right. getting a little bit more than their value back across the board. A little too thin on the ground, though, to be able to probably hang on to this objective over the course of the remainder of the game. Mazda is hanging in there. Colossadon Hunters, though, dive into a pretty rough fight. There is a Cultist of Nurgle with the Shrine here, getting a little bit of charge on the Giver of Abundant Glory. Should be able to get this up to about half charge after all of these red-crested skinks are killed. They do route off, denying this a little bit of charge. A little unfortunate. We've still got a little bit of a game here somehow. I don't know how the Lizards are hanging in here so well. I guess just having your Lord available and the decent cap weight from all of the skinks is doing them a lot of wonders here. I mean, being down 4,000 for most of this game, and they're still having a little bit of a go of it. Really good Stream of Corruption kills the red-crested skinks here. I'm really liking the Sorcerer Lord on foot. I mean, just running around, you know, healing up with the Crown of Everlasting Conquest whenever damage is done to him. Casting lots of Streams of Corruption. Not really, no other spell, so just proccing that for the Children of Nurgle passive. Filth Mace is here to charge army abilities. It's a pretty good item, too. I mean, it corrodes armor, which lowers everything by 30, and it also spreads to all the units around them, and this guy causes terror as well, so having just like a foot-based terror piece on an objective can be really nice too. Can really catch opponents off guard. Mazda has done okay for himself, but is running for his life now. Probably not going to be able to do much more with how little HP he's got left. Throwing axes have just been disgusting this game. 2,500 on these guys. And we've got 1,800 here. Good lord, dude. Oh my... Not a lot you can do as Lizardmen where your opponent's throwing axe micro is that on point, man. Very short game, very dominant Nurgle win. Yeah, the first counts game went really well, Jack. How did Lizards pull that value back? Magic. Lizards are a great faction. They usually do alright into Nurgle. They kind of overplayed their hand, though. Committing all of the SEs to that fight on the high ground, that middle objective, without the support of the Skink Skirmishers was a big mistake. Skink Skirmishers are the best counter in the game for the throwing axes that Chaos has. Nurgle throwing axes do have a shield that mitigates a little bit of the missile fire. But Skink Skirmishers have a much better fire rate and better range, and they're a little bit more accurate. If they had been around to support the SEs, they probably would have just shot all the Marauder Horsemen to death, and then the SEs could have gotten active to grind through the heavily armored infantry here. Just not having these guys around in the mid-game is real. I mean, if you're going to commit to big SEs like this in a really small infantry force, just hold one objective. See if your opponent is going to be foolish enough to overextend, and just slowly build your army up and get ready to overwhelm them. Lizards are going to benefit from a build-up a lot more than Nurgle is. You know, Chaos factions like to scrap early. And especially ones that don't have incredible ranged options. Like Nurgle and Khorne. And Slaanesh to some degree. Slaanesh javelins are pretty vicious, though. I would categorize them as having good shooting just because of how strong they are. As well as Pavane being there to support. But Nurgle and Khorne don't really have those same easy rampages and easy ways to farm value with their missiles if there's counter-skirmish play. So if you just build up and keep your SEs supporting the skirmishers and vice versa, you lock down one objective, build up your red-crested skinks, your source warriors, then you bring out your spear riders, then you bring out the Umbral Tide. Then the Colossedon Hunters and the Ripperdactyls, and then Razordons if you really need the heavy-hitting AP in the late game. And then you can just push your opponent back from there. Lizards just committed too early. You hate to see it. Early commitment can be a losing play, as in IRL and in game. You can make comebacks happen in any circumstance. Fix it. I mean, oftentimes it requires your opponent to make mistakes, but Lizards are one of the factions where they're set up to actually be able to pull it off. They just got really good magic and lord options that are pretty damn durable. Ogre's Corn we'll probably save for a little bit later. Let's watch some Corn Greenskins, and then I think it'll be semis time. If it's not already, I actually need to check. Now, we got 2 games left, so by the time we're done with this replay, we'll be into the semis. Let me just let people know. Slick. Perfect timing, too. So we've got Grom, we've got a Goblin Big Boss. They need Stabbing available. Michael really obviously loves the Big Bosses. I can get behind that. Giant River Troll Hag coming in. Soul Blight and Fate of Buna are the spell choices here. I don't love Fate of Buna against Khorne. It can do some good damage for sure. Probably best used on like the Slaughter Guard or the Bloodweight Berserkers. Using it on a Khorngore or something like that is going to be a huge waste. I don't know, man. Soul Blight's a really good choice, though. I think Soul Blight and Aspect of the Dread Knight are probably your best bets. Aspect of the Dread Knight imbues magical attacks onto its targets. And that can do you a lot of good against the demonic factions. Especially with, you know, Khorne really loving its Furies. Furies immediately going after the Forest Goblin Spider Archers. Really liking the choice of the Spider Archers. Having the poison on the missiles and melee attack is really good at slowing down these very swarmy units. You can see the poison being applied here. Ignore that weird terrain thing. There is no terrain slowing down the Chaos Furies. It's just a random bug. I don't know why it shows on a lot of these units. If there's, like, water anywhere on a map, oftentimes, when units are landing on the ground, it can show their speed being debuffed pretty inappropriately. Doing a very good job of staying aggressive with the Furies. The Archers are kind of outplaying themselves here. They're kiting away pretty effectively. What they really needed to do was run into the center of their formation, where the infantry can just peel the Furies off of them. But dragging them all the way back to the deploy zones and getting some Goblin Spears to like block them up, honestly not a bad situation either. They gotta get away here. You don't want to lose all your skirmishers in the early game as the Greenskins, though. One Fury is going to be going down here, and now the other one should be pretty easy to kill. Hopefully going to be able to save this Spider Archer, but trading one of those guys for 2 Furies wouldn't be a bad trade at all. Khorngore's getting Buna'd. Big waste, in my opinion. Slaughter Guard are all the way over here and are a much better target. I mean, this is an 1,800 gold unit. Khorngores are 725 gold. It's not terrible, but when there's spell resistance available on these guys, and it's as juicy as it is, it's not as devastating as you would expect. And you can see, it's already worn off, and the Khorngores, I mean, didn't even get down to half their HP. A third of the HP off of the Slaughter Guard would be paying a lot more dividends into the later stages of the game for the Greenskins here. They're doing a pretty good job of grinding in here, though. Korngor's getting some good value on the River Troll Hag. You can see how well they do against large targets, man. I mean, really chunking her down, honestly. I mean, she's lost about 1,000 of her HP, and River Troll Hags have an okay HP pool, but that can get taken down pretty quickly. Spotify engaging the big boss here. Blood Beast coming in to help against Grom and the River Troll Hag. Skull Tinker needs to be careful. He's taking a lot of damage, man. And They Need Stabbin' is still active here, doing some pretty big damage to him. Debuffing him pretty immensely. I mean, 24 melee defense and 30 armor is quite a bit. That's as good as the Hex that Skull Taker has, actually. He has the Bloody Onslaught, which has the exact same effects as They Need Stabbin'. Slaughter Guard engaging against the Biggins here. Marauders also stuck in. Yeah, you don't want to blob your infantry up as Khorne. Ever, ever. You're losing a lot of efficiency in this frontline fight. Pulling these Marauders out of this combat and just leaving the Slaughter Guard to grind through all those units probably be a lot better for you. Marauders, very, again, very blobbed up here. Bloodwake Berserkers chewing on the Black Orcs, which is a really good engagement. That was really nice targeting from the Khorne player. The Black Orcs are getting a little damage in, but the problem with the Black Orcs versus Bloodwake Berserkers is the ridiculous stats these guys have. I mean, 61 melee defense and 71 melee attack with the 88 weapon strength. There's no way Black Orcs are really even going to be able to swing in there and get any kind of damage on the Bloodwake Berserkers. You have to commit to debuffs and also big buffs for your own units to beat the Bloodwake Berserkers. Skull Taker on the run back here needs some serious help. I don't know what you bring in here. You don't have a lot of supplies. There's some Furies here that can help him, but I think Skull Taker might die here. Khorne is doing pretty well in the front line. It's going to be a really close game. No matter what happens here with Skull Taker, I think that Khorne is in a decent enough position to maybe get some work done. And that's gotta be a miscast. There's no way the Marauders were chosen over the Slaughter Guard. I'm going to assume that was a misclick. Both these units are pretty bunched up on one another. Maybe that's the counterplay to Fate of Buna. You blob Marauders up on them, and then you hope your opponent accidentally clicks on the wrong unit. So, Khorne really laughing after the unfortunate uses of Fate of Buna so far. The infantry doing very well. Sword of Khorne coming down, going to ice both these units. Does big damage to the Orc Boy Spears. The Biggins survived the worst of it, but they still took a decent chunk of their HP and damage. I mean, almost a third of it gone. Greenskin's flooding the field, but these two very elite units might be able to anchor this whole battlefield, honestly. Knights of the Brazen Throne are here, too. Going into the Boar Boy Biggins, it should be a decent enough trade for the Biggins. Knights of the Brazen Throne are definitely going to win the fight overall, but I don't know if they want to really be in this situation. Oh, the wall goes down, and that's going to flip this fight right around. Especially with the Warlords boys coming in to sunder that armor. Suddenly the Knights are in a really bad position, man. They might end up shattering here with a rear charge from these Spider Riders. You know, the Lord is dead. Oh my god, that's brutal, dude. Oh my goodness. Oh, and a Soul Blight goes down. Finally getting some real good uses out of the magic here. And the Slaughter Guard, actually, their leadership looking real haggard right now. Barely hanging in here. They've gotten some pretty good value, but they're probably going to get worn down without too many problems now. Oh, if they break here for Khorne, that's going to be devastating. Relentless Rage on these guys would be pretty clutch right now. Knights of the Brazen Throne, unfortunately taken down by the Biggins and the Spider Riders here with the help of a good Wah. Very punishing. Throwing Axes coming out in the late game. Gonna try and get some value here. Shouldn't do poorly into any of the units on the field. They just need to stay away from Skirmish Cav and not get caught by Boar Boy Biggins or something. And they should be able to help Khorne value trade pretty nicely. River Troll Hag was sitting on top of the Bloodwake Berserkers and the Slaughter Guard too long. Got absolutely wrecked for her efforts. Very lucky to have a caster still alive on the field now. Another Soul Blight in here would be pretty clutch. Looks like it is going to be going down here. Definitely going to help against the Bloodwake Berserkers and the Slaughter Guard. Just having to commit so many units to try and grind these guys down. The Bloodwake Berserkers have just not been taking any damage, dude. 2,700 value on them. Slaughter Guard with 2,400 counting still. Lots of Marauders coming out. Throwing axes find Grom the Paunch. They're going to kill him here, and that's going to be a really rough position for the Greenskins. Their leadership is not good, obviously. I've said it in the other games that we've spectated with them. Once their lord's off the field, terror routes and just general, like, bad leadership, it's going to lead to a lot of situations where their units just break, and they've got, you know, a ton of leadership left, so I would definitely commit to trying to get these throwing axes to finish this guy here. Just a couple of actual hits will finish him off. Unfortunately, throwing at a very high angle, missing their shots for the most part. Grom survives somehow. He is going to rat off the field. That extra time, though, for the Greenskins to value trade here could make all the difference. They've got a pretty good ticket lead. Khorne has had some trouble hanging on to the points. The only issue that the Khornate players had is that the Bloodwake Berserkers and the Slaughter Guard have been fighting off of the number 3 objective this whole time. They're just on the edge of it, not providing any cap weight. And they do lose their home objective as well. Ticket's going to become a serious problem. They might not be able to win this game in time. Bloodwake Berserkers and the Slaughter Guard, though, are just... oh my god, dude. Just disgusting work done by both of these units. 3,200 value on these guys. 2,700 on the Slaughter Guard. They're killing some Forest Goblin Spider Archers. Number 3 objective being resecured here. Grom is off the field. Leadership problems in full effect here for the Greenskins. You can see a lot of wavering units suddenly. Stuff breaking when they're at, like, almost a full, like, 3/4 of their HP left there. Throwing axes, moving in. They can probably charge down these biggins. They've got good enough shock damage. Should be able to do some good work here. Definitely need to pull out and not grind into these guys. I don't know why they the charge was so limp there. Didn't do a lot of damage. Actually took the worst of it for the effort. Just throwing their axes, though, you know, you can afford to take a risky charge with these guys. As long as they stay out of actual combats, they should be able to use the rest of their ammunition, do some pretty good work. Bloodwake Berserkers, lots of Marauders moving off of this objective. I would probably keep one Marauder here. Then you can commit the other ones to pushing with the Bloodwake Berserkers. Definitely need them to perform some miracles here. I like Uzul on the Juggernaut, but Spotify has really been slipping up on the micro and the positioning of the old Khorne Lord, and making games a lot harder for themselves than they need to be. Biggins and the Orc Boys break here. A double cap coming in for Khorne, but it is triple cap territory, so we'll see if Spotify is aware of that. Greenskins certainly look to be on point with the understanding. Going to be trying to form a nice bulwark. You want to try and keep Khorne units off of the points, because you're going to win on tickets, not on value in this game at this point. You want to try and take as many of these engagements off as possible and blob Khorne up as much as you can. Fury's getting in here, a lot of blobbed up units, and now a lot of cap weight is going to start moving up on this point for Khorne. They should be able to flip this objective. They've got plenty of time. They've got a little bit more than 2 minutes left, in fact. That takes caps 20 seconds to flip if you've got good enough cap weight on it. And a beautiful Sword of Khorne goes down. Wrecks the Orc Boys there. The Biggins should be able to hang in for a little while, but this many Khornate infantry should be able to grind through here. Gotta just push all the cap weight onto the point, though. Khorngors need to loop around. These guys are doing some pretty good damage to the Goblin Big Boss and the Snotling Pump Wagons. Marauders having a little bit of trouble here, and the Black Orcs getting up on the point are going to be a huge problem for Khorne. Good counter here using the throwing axes, who have run out of ammo, to run off the Biggins here with the help of some Furies. Need to move over here and get some rear charges and try to break all of the infantry on this point. Down to 80 seconds. Not a lot of time left for Khorne. Tons of supplies in the bank. And no Fleshhounds, no Horsemen, no Mobile Capweight coming out to try and take that #1. I think this is going to be game. Spotify just a little bit slow on getting infantry forward. And the Marauders break at the worst possible time, man. Snotling Pump Wagons getting in there. And what is causing all this? Frightened, attacked in flank, under missile fire. Lord dead, attacked in the rear. Too much for this poor Marauders, and they are disappointing the Blood God immensely this day. Khorne had a way back into this game, but just a little bit too late on it. A little too much time spent cleaning up these units that aren't doing anything, and needing the rear charges over here a lot. The Khorne Gores break as well. That is going to be game. Bloodweight Berserkers tried their best to carry this game. They got 3,500 value in the process. If only they could win the game single-handedly. Oh my god, man. This is insane. They're still going. They've got a ton of HP left. Jesus. Very fair and balanced unit. I'm telling you, man. God. Alright, I'm coming, Ninja. I'll come watch. Legate, I think it's build more than anything. Your build against Nurgle was honestly not bad for the matchup. But if you're gonna, like, I don't know if you've watched me, I just did that one before this game. Go back and watch it, and keep your skirmishers with your SEs, because the throwing axes just devoured you. I mean, they wrecked your SEs so badly. There was a throwing axe of Nurgle that got 2,500 value that game. As Lizardmen, with your strong skirmish play, that should never ever happen against Nurgle. Your skink skirmishers and chameleon skinks and stuff are more than good enough to counterfire those guys away from your big stuff. And once the Geltblom's terror was gone, that was rough. It was a very tall hill to climb from that point on. Drop me a lobby code, Ninja. I'm very excited for semis, guys. I've been going really hard on the replays, trying to give everybody a little bit of time to shine. I'm not going to stick around for long after the semis and the finals today. I want to go watch the Turin semifinals, or the season finals. And I'll come back on Monday and I'll do all of the other replays I have. Later today, and hopefully sometime in the afternoon tomorrow, I'll have up my part 2 of my comprehensive Khorne roster breakdown. If you haven't watched the first one, you should check it out. I went over all of the Lord options for Khorne, just talking about them, breaking them down, giving a few examples of matchups they're good in, and where their power lies as a whole. Khorne has a lot better options than just Skulltaker and Valkia. I promise you. You can play around with a lot of their lords that do pretty well. Here we go. Other than that, Legate, it looked good. Just keeping all that together, your build was pretty good against the heavy infantry that Nurgle was bringing out. I mean, Mazda Mundi has got some really good clearing tools. Like, on Zlok, he's already really good at charging down infantry. You can drop the Banishments and Ruination of Cities that can do some really good work. It's just throwing axes. That's really the only threat that Nurgle has against the big monsters, really. Their soul grinders are mid. You can beat Kha'Zix in a 3v1 with what you had. He's a great hero, but he can only do so much, right? If you're still here, Ninja, open up a spec slot for me real quick. I can't join without one. Oh, it was good. I don't have a lot of notes for you, Clan. You played really well into the lizards. Okay, sweet. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you just isolated your opponent's big stuff, and were able to press them back pretty well. Beastmen are pretty straightforward. If you know what you're doing with them and you can make good use out of their mobility, it's pretty hard to go wrong with them. But I'll watch some of your other games if you drop them in there. I'll go over them Monday, like I said, and then I can give you a little bit more in-depth info. Yeah, the Colossedons got Kha'Zix, and that was really good, but it was definitely too late at that point. Building up a little bit more, just focusing on the 1 point and value trading early would have been great. You did great, Hammer. Trust me. You know, I've got a sixth sense about these things. Look, Warhammers and, like, Mauls were some of the most vicious weapons that you could wield on a battlefield for a lot of history. I mean, armor doesn't mean anything when you've got a good enough ball-peen hammer, basically. Just cave somebody's head in and laugh at them. Hell yes, let's go. Vampire Counts versus Wood Elves. Usually a pretty rough matchup for the Vampire Counts. Vampire Counts can really struggle against high leadership factions, and they also struggle against missile-heavy factions, and wouldn't you know it, Wood Elves happen to be both of those things. It's really going to come down to whether or not the mobility of the Vampire Counts is able to stay active into the mid to late game. Not opening with any Cryptors is a good call. They're pretty terrible against the missile pressure the Wood Elves have. Opting to bring some Graveguard in the opening. I think what I would love to see from the Vampire Counts as their first summon is some Blood Knights. Blood Knights are disgusting against Wildwoods, or against the Wild Riders. They're really good at charging down Wildwood Rangers. They can get good charges on Glade Guard. They're anti-everything that the Wood Elves have to some extent, just because they have good combat stats. The anti-large bonus. And not having AP really doesn't hurt much against a faction that has basically no armor on them. Blood Knights reign supreme in this matchup. I really honestly would say that you could thrive bringing two of them in reserve. Zombies, skeleton spearmen, skeleton warriors. you know, just lots of missile catchers, which is a really good call. You don't want to bring anything too squishy and valuable in the opening against the elves. I mean, they'll just feast on you, and it's just going to be an automatic loss if you don't bring the right build. But Ninja Jack obviously knows what's what. Spirit Leech and Invocation of the Heck on the Strigoi Ghoul King. I do really love this guy. I feel like maybe he's not the best option here, though. I think one of the best options against the Wood Elves is the Von Karstein Lord. The Von Karstein Vampire Lord can shut down any flying units that might be coming in from the Wood Elves, and they do have some pretty good flying Lord options. He's got the Storm of the Night, which is a Tempest-like effect, as well as having Flock of Doom, which is really good against the mobility that the Wood Elves have. He's also got a shield and a little bit more armor than the Ghoul King. But Ghoul King's not bad, just Ghoul King is a very consistent lord. I understand sticking with what you know. That's just my one little bit of advice that maybe Ninja Jack doesn't know off the top of his head. Sisters of the Thorn and the Hagbane Tips getting some pretty good damage here. Sisters, very nice micro on them, skirting right out of the way. Didn't lose a single model there, despite the Ghoul King getting within charging range. Turning around, trying to get their javelins on target. Any damage you do in the early game against the Ghoul King is pretty damn good. It's worth it, honestly. He's got regen, so he's always going to be healing, but, you know, that does come with its own set of drawbacks in a way. Having these lords where you've got regeneration on them, sometimes you can get a little overconfident with them, thinking, oh, you know, they're just going to heal through it all, they'll be fine. You can overextend with them early, take a bunch of damage on them. Then they're a little bit less effective in the mid game as you're trying to play a little more honestly with them. And then they're very snipeable towards the end as they reach their healing cap. But doing a good job of staying away from the worst of it right now. Not flying into the middle of all of these Glade Guard in the opening. Glade Guard haven't gotten a lot of value in the early game here. Targeting the Grave Guard is not the best option. You want to shoot the Corpse Cart here. Corpse Carts have god-awful armor. And there we go. Big volleys coming in there. Doing some good work. What the hell is shooting them? Oh, just the two Glade Guard here. You can see how much damage they did. Focus fire from all of the Glade Guard would finish off this Corpse Cart. That's a lot of passive healing, as well as the Vigor Mortis being gone for the vampires. It's really going to hurt them. You can see Ninja's trying to save this thing, but once it hits crumbling and the Glade Guard get a little more damage on, it's probably going to be over for those guys. Wild Riders screaming through, trying to get after the Dire Wolves. Pedal to the metal there, get after them. Dryads can come here and isolate the Skeleton Warriors with the Treekin. Sorry, these are Eternal Guard. Even better, though, Eternal Guard are very good at clearing chaff. They've got really solid stats, and the AP is really nice. Glade Guard looking to get settled. Some Scab Scrapes have been going down. You can see doing some pretty good damage. Dire Pack do get on top of the Hagbane Tips, but pretty good reaction. And the Sisters of the Thorn, definitely a really good unit to counter the Dire Pack. They've got really good physical resistance. The low armor really doesn't hurt them all that much. As long as they're not fighting anything with magic damage, they're going to be okay. And they flatten the Dire Pack there. Ninja very much on the back foot, and Farrag is just feasting here, which is kind of what I was afraid of. This tends to happen with the vampire counts against Wood Elves. Their front line is never going to win the straight-up fights. Eternal Guard have good enough leadership that they just hold till the end of freaking time. And Glade Guard with their good range and decent AP damage. For a bow unit, 4 AP is actually pretty damn strong. We've got a Pit of Shades going down. Hell yes, hitting the Grave Guard and a lot of Skeleton Spears here. That's beautiful value. Look at this. Ugh. Vampire counts hate this one simple trick. Delete their heavy metal infantry with Pit of Shades. Watch them cry. White Kings have been doing alright. Tried to push onto Drycha, not quite able to catch her. They still have a few Scab Scrades here. Yeah, they each got 2, I think. No, only 1 left on this guy. Looks like he just dropped it. Did good damage to the Dryads and the Eternal Guard. Stern's been holding up really nicely. Stern's been going to have to anchor for the Vampire counts for a long time here, though. Drycha is getting Spirit Leeched, and Strigoi Gold King is doing okay. Not really finding a lot of success like he has in some of the earlier matches that we spectated with getting Terror Routes and other such damage in here. And a beautiful use of Shield of Thorns. Actually going to do some pretty good damage to the Ghoul King here, as well as the Skeleton Spears. Just any bit of melee reflection is going to be pretty nice there. Drycha overcasting something and doing a bunch of damage to herself is not great. She's pretty low on HP. No heals either. Need to play very cautiously with her. You do not want to lose your Lord, especially when your Lord is also your spellcaster. She's used most of the magic, but having the extra leadership, I think it'd be worth it, even if Drycha's not actually getting a lot done. Glade Guard are very healthy, and they're just farming value at this point. They've gotten pretty good work done, shooting down some Skeleton Spears, which is a very good target because you want the Spears and the anti-large stuff gone so that your Wild Riders and Mobility can hammer home in the late game. Blood Knights finally coming out. Oh, the Melkoths went down on the Blood Knights. That's really good attention to detail. Like, seeing Blood Knights way out here, just trying to get damage on them early. Melkoths has 300 cast range when you overcast it. I think that was worth the damage on Drycha, but Drycha has got to get out of here. I know you want to finish off the White Kings, but they're kind of trap. They're so difficult to kill. They've just got so much HP, decent melee attack, and melee defense. Drycha's taken a lot of damage for all the effort she's put in here, and is in danger of getting killed by just another good Spirit Leech and a charge down from the Strigoi Ghoul King. She is giving huge buffs to the melee attack here, and the Wild Hunches of Kurnus have done some serious damage to the Sternsmen. Pushing through onto the number 2, good call not focusing too much on the zombies here. Definitely need to play very cagely around the Blood Knights. You can see they wrecked those Dryads pretty quickly there. Number 1 held by the Wood Elves. The number 3 is still held by the Vampires. Wood Elves need to start trying to get their grasp on some of these points soon. Wild Hunters pulling back. Drycha with 155 HP is routing and running. I don't know if she rallies here. I mean, the damage sustained is equal with her base value leadership. If she gets in with some allied units, maybe she'll recover. Sisters of the Thorn and Glade Guard stopping up the Strigoi Ghoul King. That's perfectly fine, but leaving the Wild Hunters of Kurnus a little isolated against Blood Knights, Fell Bats, Crypt Horrors, and the Skeleton Spears here. And now the Glade Guard are almost out of ammo. Still hanging on. This is just very persistent counts play. Sometimes this is all you need to do. You just need to hang in there and not give up the ghost, man. Even if the game starts looking ugly at a certain point, they were down pretty badly on value. They're kind of scrapping it back now. Now the Terror Routes are starting to rear their head. The Terror Geist here, able to rout off some of the Glade Riders here. Wild Hunters of Kurnus barely hanging in. And they do get Terror Routed, which is just devastating, man. They've got quite a few models left and a decent chunk of HP. Could have made a big difference in this pit fight. Blood Knights flattening everything in their path up to 1,000 value. Fighting the Sisters of the Thorn. And you know that physical resist. I mentioned it's very good for keeping their durability up, but against Blood Knights who have much better combat stats, that is not going to be enough to keep them around. They're still holding up nicely. There's a lot of Dryads in this fight, but that is taking a lot of cap pressure off for the Vampire counts. They're moving some zombies up to threaten the number 2 objective here. Number 3 is finally flipping, and some good rear charges from these Wild Riders. It's breaking down a lot of the remaining zombies on the field. This pit fight is going to determine a lot of outcomes. Ninja definitely needs to get the Blood Knights active. They need to come support the objectives here. They need to kill the Wild Riders back here. Did Drycha rally? No, Drycha did not rally. Really unlucky. Melkoth's right now on the Blood Knights would be really clutch. Wild Riders looking real vulnerable out here. Getting charged down by the Strigoi Ghoul King, who's got a decent chunk of HP left, 4,700. Not a lot of missiles on the field to threaten him either. Wildwood Rangers coming up. With the Race of the Frozen Heart, should be able to drag down these Crypt Horrors. Dude, these Crypt Horrors are buying so much time for the Vampire counts. Blood Knights get onto the Wild Riders here, doing some good damage to them. One more Invocation of Nehek on them would be really nice right now. Blood Knights disengaged from the blob fight, turning their attention to the healthy Wild Rider. And another Invo, beautiful... Oh my god. Reading my freaking mind, dude. Dire Pack out on the field again. Dire Pack are going to feast the rest of this game with some good micro. Chasing down some Wild Riders. Should probably just charge into the Wild Hunters here. And trundle some of the spears in to surround them. Probably could win that fight. Blood Knights are going to be losing this combat, but they got some really good value before they've gone down. They're still hanging in here. Getting that last extra little bit against these Wild Riders could be clutch in the late game. Vampires have lost a lot of the objectives, though. That is the one situation that's not looking great for them. They don't have a lot of durable infantry available either. It's just zombies, crappy spearmen. Wildwood Rangers and Race of the Frozen Heart are finally up on this objective. These are very stalwart units when it comes to leadership. Also very good at clearing out chaff. I don't know what you bring out here now. Some Graveguard are a pretty good call, but you need a little bit of mobility to hammer home here. Blood Knights finally going down. Wild Hunters of Kurnus! Oh, in the late game here, getting a full surround on the Strigoi Ghoul King, taking a big bite out of his remaining HP. If they don't Terror Route here, they might be able to outright kill him with the right engagement. But it does look like he's actually killing enough models that he should be able to just stay in here and fight them off. But he's taking about 1,500 of his HP and damage here, which is really brutal. Nice Pit of Shades going down. You know, I mean, it's all on chaff infantry, but why not? Last Scab Scrape being used there, it looks like, from the White King. One more left on this guy. Man, playing very patiently with using those. It's honestly a pretty good call. It can pay off a lot to save your magic for really late game engagements oftentimes. People love to use it to try and win early. But I've personally found that just acting like you don't have a caster for large portions of the game, and then using it in critical moments in the later stages, as long as you're not losing too badly, it can really flip games quite hard in your favor. Vampires doing a pretty good job of holding on to some of these points, but the middle objective is flipping. It is so freaking close on tickets right now. Oh, Wild Riders get a great jump on the Direwolves here. These Direwolves are going to lose. Both of them in conjunction. Probably going to do a little bit of damage to the Wild Riders, but the physical resistance as well as the good melee attack and the frenzy these guys have should make really short work of the Wolves. One is immediately folded up. Glade Riders coming in to help. Looping around and getting a side charge would be a little better than just folding in behind. You can see the Wild Riders are blocking up a lot of the Glade Riders. But the Vampire counts do kind of sort that out by trying to pull out now, which is not going to work. The Direwolves are just way too caught up, and now they're just going to die even faster. Oftentimes, your mobility is compromised like that. Just keeping them in the melee fight, they'll get a little bit of value. They're already dead. Just think of them as gone at this point. They've got 2 superior units on them, and they just get absolutely folded up. Really good save on that side point from Farrig. Farrig coming in here with the steel chair in the 4th quarter. Just barely persevering through the mid-game turning point that Ninja Jack had going for him. Blood Knights with some Crypt Horror support almost flipped this around. But it does look like the Wood Elves are going to be taking this game home.
One of your units has been
They
destroyed.
do have the double cap. There's just not enough time. There's no way that the vampire counts are going to be able to take any of this. Their lord goes down. That's the final nail in the coffin. Dying under the attacks of the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart. Look at the value on these guys. 170 kills. Hanging in here. A little bit of HP left. Should be able to get a little bit of extra value there. Really good performance from them. These Dryads are really nice because they've got the Frostbite and Chilling Aura, so you can see how poor the speed gets for all the units in this blob here. It's very hard to disengage from them. Some of the funniest things you can do with the Race of the Frozen Heart is to waddle them into a mobility fight, and your opponent thinks that it's just a regular Dryad and that they can pull out their very expensive cavalry. And then they look at the tooltip and it says, oh, this 95 speed unit has 34 speed now. Wow, that's great. And then they get obliterated by the Wild Riders, who all did really well here, paying for themselves quite nicely. One of them a little lackluster, but I think this one only came out once. So, I mean, paying for itself is pretty damn awesome. 220 kills. Doing a great job of clearing there. Wildwood Rangers paid for themselves. Wraiths, not quite, but almost. The Firebark Elders are pretty slick. Some good Wood Elf play here. Good value on the Glade Guard. I'm telling you, man, killing that Crypt Cart, or the Corpse Cart, was, it's a very underrated sniping play. These things, if they're allowed to give Perfect Vigor and passive healing to the Vampire Counts units, that is a game-losing play. You have to kill Corpse Carts. It is a little feels bad, because they are only 500 gold, but they're so damn slow that it's almost pointless resummoning them, because it takes so long for them to get back up to the front line. White Kings did great. Ghoul King did fine. I just feel like the Flocks of Doom from the Von Karstein Lord would have been better. There is a lot of expensive cavalry here on the field. I mean, you've got Hagbane Tips, you've got Sisters of the Thorn, you've got Wild Riders galore out here, and Flock of Doom can also help out in the front line with grinding down a lot of these infantry. And you've still got Invocation of Nehek available from the Von Karstein Lord. On top of just having a built-in counter to any of the Wood Elf Flying Lords, who I think are actually okay into the Vampire Counts. Really close game, though. Damn close. No problem, Slan. Never think to build up a force first. Yeah, I mean, just getting used to the build-up strategy is just all about patience. Just go take a point. It's going to take a while for your opponent to get up to the point that you're going to be behind, and you have to triple cap them. So just, you know, play patiently, learn the timing on your pushes, and you'll be fine with the build-up strategies. The Elden Ring Great Hammers. I haven't played Elden Ring. The Souls games are never really my my cup of tea. I either like games like this where it's, you know, like grand strategy, or I like just brain-dead shooters, honestly. That's more my speed. Yeah, I'll work on figuring out a way where I can read messages live a little bit better. I don't really have a setup for that right now, but I'll look into it. Yeah, nobody likes to fight Wood Elves, but everybody loves playing Wood Elves. They're like the fuckboy faction. That's how I think of the Wood Elves. That's true. I'll probably do that then next time. Ideal Lord pick versus Vampire Counts? Drycha works. She's got the aura around her where the more damage she takes, she gives big buffs to weapon strength and melee attack, which can be really nice. It's a little hard to keep her safe. If you do bring Jiraiya against the vampire counts, you just need to keep her away from the White Kings, and maybe have a pocket healer for her. You know, just in case. The true best lord, honestly, is probably Durthu. Durthu is just such a gigantic asshole. He is so hard to kill, even without any healing magic for him. Sword of Daith just decimates, absolutely obliterates enemy infantry. If you pop this on a big blob, you can get 1,000 value out of Sword of Daith. It is a ridiculously strong ability. It only having 2 uses is the only thing that keeps this from being truly and horrendously overpowered. Flock of Doom is available for you to hit Cairn Wraiths or Ethereal units. Not that you'll see them often against Wood Elves. Wood Elves have too many answers, but, you know, just theoretically, it's nice. And it's also really good against Blood Knights. Blood Knights you will see pretty often from the vampire counts. They are the best anti-Wood Elf tool available to them. Like, bringing a bunch of these guys, really not a bad idea. I also think the Black Coach has some play for the vampire counts against the Wood Elves. I mean, fire damage and flaming attacks, it's got good weapon strength. It can run over the infantry pretty nicely. You gotta be careful that it doesn't get caught, though, by the Wild Hunters of Kurnus. But if you've got good micro, Black Coach can get you some pretty good value. Yes, Barbie's Dreamhouse Adventures 2, man. That's like, that's almost as good as Bookworm Adventures Deluxe. Just my personal opinions. If we're going to be talking about the greatest games of all time, you know. Alright, who's going to be in the finals here? We got our boy Farrig up top here. This is the regular bracket side of things. There's top 4. Petwansu and Grace are playing on the other side of bracket, and we'll be seeing how that game plays out eventually. They're still in game right now. I'm gonna message them to drop me the semis, and I'll do a separate video for that one, a separate cast. The one we just saw, yeah, it is, okay. Oh, and they did finish, actually. Damn, Ogres versus High Elves. So we're gonna have some Ogres coming in here for the finals game. Ogres won last week. We had a German player come in with them. And played very clean. Golg was just feasting on all of the poor little foot lords that were coming in. And then some really good magic options and just solid lead belcher play was more than enough to take the tournament, man. Ogres are kind of goofy. Love them to death thematically. They're probably my least favorite faction to go up against. Every time I see somebody pick Ogres, I die a little bit on the inside. Okay. There we go. Yeah, Ninja, Flock of Doom is amazing against cavalry. It is really punishing. It's got a, it's got an aura on it, so it's even better than Melkoth's in that regard. Melkoth's is a little bit more consistent. And I think it does a little bit more damage, but that's only on a single target. Um, you could play around with some Shadows magic. I really do swear by the Flock of Doom magic. Where's the Von Karstein Lord? I think you just click. Yeah, here you go. So you've also got Charm Shield, which gives damage resistance and missile block chance. So gives them a little bit more durability there as well. Isn't that much more? You can just bring that. He's 2695, and he's got an immediate counter to any aerial combat lord from the Wood Elves. You might not get to use this, but it's there just in case. If your opponent does have a Flying Lord, it's almost an automatic win. Because this does an obscene amount of damage. I mean, it's Spirit Leech on steroids against aerial targets, which is pretty freaking awesome. Flock of Doom and Invocation of Nahek don't really need to do a whole lot more. You can even bring Raised Dead. Raised Dead is pretty good to drop on top of Glade Guard and stuff. You can also go super cheap and bring a Master Necromancer on the Hellsteed. This guy's like dirt-ass cheap, like costs next to nothing. And then you do this. You just fly around, he's 1295 gold, and you go much wider with your army. Then you can probably start with double Blood Knight in the opening. And you can get real ham with aggression. There's a lot of ways to play the matchup. The Strigo Ghoul King isn't bad, though. I mean, you did very well with him. It's just that the missile play and the Starfire Shafts are pretty common choices. I was a little surprised not to see any from the Wood Elves that game. They're pretty devastating against the Ghoul King and also the Crypt Horrors, just because the fire damage in all of the region that your reliance on is vampire counts. I just like to have something that can hold up a little better. Alright, Dancing with Demons, Ogre Kingdoms, Wood Elves. We saw a Wood Elves versus Ogre Kingdoms matchup last week where the Wood Elves actually took the game. That one did end up getting replayed later on in the bracket, I believe, and it was not even close. The Ogre Kingdoms took it very dominantly the second time around. We'll see what Farrag's got going. Farrag has been playing very clean and has great micro. So, if anybody's going to be able to beat down on the Chungus Kingdoms, I think it's going to be Farrag. Alright. Farrag's finishing up the build. The Ogre Kingdoms player is ready already. I would be shocked if we don't see a bunch of Lead Belchers here. It's going to be really brutal if the Wood Elves can't get on top of the missile line early. Yeah, expecting Durthu. I mean, Durthu is a pretty strong choice against the vampire counts, like I was saying. Just absolutely brutal at deleting their blobs. It was very tough to take down. But, you know, that's where the Von Karstein Lord can help out. You know, he's a pretty good combatant in his own right. Not as good against Durthu as the Strigoi Ghoul King might be, but with good cycle charging, you can get some good work done. And it's worth noting that the breath attack on the dragon is a lot better against SEs than the Terrorgeist breath attack. They're both strong, but dragon pestilent breaths and, you know, the soporific musks and all the different names for the dragon breath attacks, they're all absolutely ridiculous. They are so freaking powerful. And Durthu's not going to be able to dodge either. He's just going to have to get absolutely smacked with the breath attacks every time. Alright, waiting on dancing. You can hear the Noblar screaming over here. They sound very excited, man. They're eager. They just want to get in there and party, man. A lot of Noblar trappers. I'd have expected to see more pigback riders in the opening, but nah, actually, now I'm saying it, it's just full-on Noblar Kingdoms with triple Lead Belcher, a Deathcaster, Blood Cleaver for the heal and combat, Buna and Spirit Leech. This is, oh my god. This is going to be really hard for Wood Elves, man. These Starfire Shafts are going to have to do a lot of work here. I think the Starfire Shafts here are meant for Stonehorn duty. I've been seeing a lot of Ogre Kingdoms players bringing just one Stonehorn in their builds. I think that's the intention there. Got some Hackbane Tips in the woods, Dryads also on the other side in the woods. I think that the Wood Elves win this game by building up. I don't think they can take an early engagement unless they can get their Starfire Shafts in quickly enough to just immediately gat down at least 2 of the Lead Belchers. I think it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, these guys have good range. And Lead Belchers just do so much damage, though. I mean, like, the missiles themselves have a lot of good AP value on them. They do pretty good damage. They kill individual models when they hit, and they pierce through units, so good focus fire from the Lead Belchers, I think, is going to be that little bit more effective than the Starfire Shaft focus fire. Noblar Trappers get spotted out immediately, going to eat a charge from the Hagbane Tips. The Glade Riders probably want to pull out of there and just leave the Dryads to finish this Noblar Trapper off, or they can loop around and get a rear charge, finish those guys off there. Hagbane Tips, you know, shooting at the Noblars isn't the worst thing in the world. You do have to clear out these little guys eventually. You know, Ogre Bulls and dual weapons and everything are pretty good against your Eternal Guard and whatnot. Being able to counter that is going to be pretty critical. Targeting the Pigback Riders with the Arrow of Kurnus early is definitely not the play. Lead Belchers need to be the focus. Arrow of Kurnus is very good at actually killing models on Lead Belchers. Mournfang Cav, great weapons coming out. Good win from the Dryads on the flank here. Do they need to chase these Nobblers off? I don't think they need to. They've done a ton of damage to them. They can probably try and get out of there so they don't get flattened by the Great Weapon Cav. Starfire Shaft's getting a little bit of damage. Lead Belchers moving forward, being very cagey and trying to pull away with the Eternal Guard so they don't just get trounced. You can see, like, one good volley already has taken 25 models of the Eternal Guard out. Focus fire from the Lead Belchers. We'll see how much damage these things are going to get done here. Getting some very good shots on target. Lots of blobbed up units here. Big value. Oh my god, dude. Vicious, vicious damage. Lead Belchers with some great work early. I mean, already about halfway up to paying for themselves. A great Pit of Shades, though, goes down. I think it's worth it killing the Noblars and the Noblar Trappers here, getting the Dryads through on top of the other Noblar unit. Maybe just a full commitment to the middle here. Dryads could squeak around the back line here, and the Hackbane Tips can run up and focus fire the Lead Belchers here. probably finish them off. Lead Belchers have terrible armor. They don't have a lot of HP. If you can get on them now and start to shut them down with missile play, I think you might be able to start taking this game. Gotta push the Starfire Shafts up to do this, though. Spellweaver with the Shadows magic is dropping Melkoths, and the Pit of Shades earlier did some pretty good work. Dryads grinding into the Gnoblars here. Lead Belchers not firing pretty slowly, not getting as much devastating damage as I would usually see out of them, and they're starting to take some serious damage here in the middle. One of these Lead Belchers is probably going to go down pretty quickly here. Got another Arrow of Kurnus being used on the Gnoblars. Still don't think that's the right choice. Lead Belchers are the better option. You could have been routing this Lead Belcher with the Arrow of Kurnus going down on him. Probably would have finished off several models, given how low those guys are. Wild Riders get engaged against Sabertusk Pack and Gnoblars, which is fine, but let the Gnoblar Trappers back here rally, and they're getting the little junk ninja stars on target against the Wild Riders. It's going to be very punishing for those guys. Very elite unit that can't really sit there and take all of that missile fire from those very cheap Gnoblars. But they do push through, and they might be able to get on the Lead Belchers here. One Lead Belcher, 12 models left. Very good micro, getting them back and giving them a little extra space to shoot into the Glade Guard here. But Glade Guard push up, get a few shots in, and they do rout, which is pretty unfortunate for them. Stag Knight struggling a little bit against all these great weapons and Mournfang Cavalry out here on the #1 objective. Hagbane Tips getting a little bit of value in there, shooting against the gigantic cavalry units for the Ogre Kingdoms. Wild Riders and the Dryads kind of getting cleaned up out here. Wild Riders out here on the flank. Could charge down the Gnoblar Trappers, maybe loop and try and get on top of some of the Lead Belchers here. Starfire Shafts should probably focus down the the Mournfang Cavalry here. Definitely gonna help out their mobility a little bit. A lot of the Gnoblars have been broken down, so maybe in the late game here, just flooding out with a bunch of infantry will be able to give the Wood Elves some durable cap weight, as well as damage potential against the Lead Belchers if the micro isn't like super clean on them. The Wild Riders have an opportunity here. Need to recognize it now before the Lead Belchers ice these guys, but the Lead Belchers actually turn around and are looking to shoot the Stag Knights. Stag Knights not able to finish the fight here, but they hold up the combat long enough for the missiles to get some really good focus fire in there. Mournfang, great weapons routing, and the regular Mournfang Cavalry breaking too. Stag Knights finally break, but I think they've given enough time for the Wood Elves to really start to maybe lock in here and take down the Lead Belcher fire. And once all the Lead Belchers are offline, even with the pretty tattered situation that the Wood Elves are finding themselves in, their half-health units are still going to be much more effective than all of these crappy Gnoblars who are on death's bed now. Lead Belchers do get nailed here, taking some serious damage. They should be able to rally, though. They've got 8 models left. Some healing on these injured Lead Belchers wouldn't be bad either. 6 models left. They might not rally now. I don't know how the hell the Wild Riders are hanging in here, man. Just absolute chads. Just going after them, even with the Iron Guts beating down on them. And probably going to get cleaned up by the Iron Guts now. Starfire Shafts are still looking reasonably healthy, and a lot of mobility out on the field for the Wood Elves, hammering home against the remaining Pigback Riders and the Ogre Bull dual weapons. Definitely don't want the Wild Hunters of Kurnus to stay in this fight long. Pigback Riders are going to get some ridiculous value against them if you keep them in this fight. Pulling them out and using them to sweep the Ogre Kingdom's backline, probably your best bet, and then you can just leave Eternal Guard to chip these guys down, which is actually what's happening here. Pigback Rider leadership breaks. Very unfortunate for the Ogre Kingdoms. Iron Guts eating a Melkoths here. Very nice casting from the Shadows Mage, man. Doing some really slow incremental damage. You can see Melkoths isn't even all that bad against monstrous infantry. Not amazing, but certainly not terrible. Debuffing the speed is nice. Blobbing up the Waystalker. Glade Guard's gonna finish off the Mornfang Cav, which isn't a bad idea. I mean, there's still a decent number of models left there. They get like a meat feast or something. They could get back up to a decent amount of HP and run rampant. Wild Hunters find some dual weapons out here. Glade Riders get hit by the Dismember. They're not long for this world. Farrig is behind, though, on value. It's very dicey, and there's still a very healthy Lead Belcher out here. This Lead Belcher needs to be a priority target. They're going to be able to do some really good damage against the Wild Hunters of Kurnus, not to mention the remaining infantry for the Wood Elves. Wood Elves bringing out a lot of Dryads now. Could unsummon the Stag Knights here. Could maybe even use... I don't know if the Stag Knights leadership would hold, but running in there and just breaking those Noblars wouldn't be a bad idea with them. Dual weapons going down. Spellsinger pretty low now, and another Spirit Leech going down on her. She might not be able to survive this. Wild Hunters of Kurnus taking the bait a little bit, maybe. The Slaughtermaster is taking some serious damage, though. I don't know if they're going to be able to finish this caster off in time, though. Melkoths goes down. Sabertusk Pack coming in to help. There is a lot of peel coming in for the Slaughtermaster. And I think this guy's actually going to survive here. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Wild Hunters do get out. They've got a little bit of HP to work with. Getting them around, maybe to get after the Sabertusk Pack. Sabertusk Pack get on top of the Glade Guard. Starfire Shafts getting shut down. Missiles very inoperable for the Wood Elves now. And the remaining Noblars kind of waddling in. Spellcaster going down for the Wood Elves as well as their Lord. Leadership is going to become an issue now. The Lead Belcher fire, man. 3 of them ending up being a little too much to deal with for the Wood Elves. They were able to shut down 2 of them. They did a good job against the Mornfang Cavalry. But this final Lead Belcher unit should be able to just out-damage the remaining Wood Elf units on the field. And with enough swarming from all of these tattered Noblars and the few dual weapon bulls, as well as the Sabertusks, I don't know if the Wood Elves have any juice left in the tank. I mean, they've got little to no supplies, only a handful of units left on the field. Some of them with pretty poor leadership coming in here. Race to the Frozen Heart are really wavering quite badly right now. They're killing some Pigback Riders, but Ogre Bull dual weapons are on top of them as well, and they're trying to micro away. They're not going to be able to escape any of the combatants here, though. Wild Riders break as they almost get up to the Lead Belchers, and that's game. Oh, man. Farrig played a really close game, but this is a tough matchup. I mean, absolutely brutal in my opinion. Doing as well as he did is very impressive. Lead Belchers did pretty damn good. I mean, the one that got 2,200 value made up for the mediocre performance of the others. They're still only 1,000 gold, though, so... I don't know. They're just so cost-effective. Dual Weapon Bulls did pretty poorly. They didn't get a whole lot done. Sabertusk Packs were okay. Noblars just swarmed the field, and they got some pretty good value on the Noblar Trappers, for sure. Almost all of those guys paying for themselves. Pigback Riders, they didn't do as much heavy lifting as they normally do, but they were still in there being annoying, as always. Wood Elf value, looking pretty decent across the board. The Shadows Magic was interesting. I don't honestly know what the best choice for the Wood Elves is, caster-wise. It's not a matchup I have. I try to avoid Ogre Kingdoms like the plague. If I get an opportunity to ban them out, I'm going to take it. So, maybe that's something that I should look into and figuring out. Maybe I can give some advice to other people. Yeah, the Boglards, dude. I was kind of surprised to see them in the build, honestly. They're not a bad unit. They've got poison on their little throwing stars, which is cool. I'm gonna go over here and check them out. They're a fun unit for sure. Water Birth is very hilarious. These guys are basically unkillable if they're in like a pool of water. Because they replenish HP, 1 per second is insane, and then they add combatants as they're standing in there. It's a pretty cool ability. It's incredibly niche, though. There's not many maps where that's going to come into play, but they got some good work done. Just being an ROR and having the extra leadership as well as the poison is usually good enough to justify spending 100 more gold. They're not that much more expensive than their normal counterparts. Let's take a look at Wood Elves for a second. I do love the Waystalker. The Arrow of Kurnus needed to be used on the Leadbelchers. I know it does good damage to them. Using it on the Noblars is just not the ticket, I don't think, to success. Spellweaver ain't bad. Maybe High Magic? I don't know, maybe not. I'm curious what Soul Quench can do, damage-wise. It's pretty damn strong against lightly armored units. Maybe if you spam this into the Noblar frontline, you can kill them. Because it does a bunch of damage when it hits, as well as having the Quenched effect, which is like a mini Flock of Doom level of damage. 3 seconds, 62 to 125. It can probably clear out the Noblars pretty nicely. It's got a ton of range, too. 300 meters? You can stay super safe and cast that all game if you want. Apotheosis is also pretty strong. You don't really need Tempest, I don't think. Fiery Convo and Arcane and Forging, not really all that useful either. So maybe just Apo and Soul Quench, and you just spam those spells all game, and you benefit from Ancient's Protection. Blessing of the Ancients, you can sit in the trees, and you get the extra Spell Mastery for extra damage, too. Ancient Protection gives you physical resistance for 12 seconds, which is good. And you can probably use Loic's Blessing a little bit for Stalk and Unspottable on your units to avoid missile fire, maybe. I don't know how much that was getting used. I wasn't really paying attention to that. It's a very niche item and ability. Maybe not the most useful thing in the world. You can maybe bring the Sisters of Twilight. They've got pretty good range on their missiles. They're pretty hard to hit. And if they're flying around on the dragon, they've got a big HP pool, Conjoined Destiny. Eagle Quiver can do some pretty good damage. Maybe you can shoot down the Leadbelchers with the Waystalker and Sisters of Twilight, and then you bring like a dirt cheap Spell Singer with Beast Magic or Shadows Magic. Branch Wraith might be good too. Branch Wraith has Earthblood as well as Melkoth's. So maybe you can bring the Branch Wraith on foot as cheap as possible. Run around that way. It's tough though. It's one of the harder matchups, like I said. Soul Quench looks good on paper, but it doesn't do much. Fair enough. I've seen it work well if it actually lands square, but it does have issues with the little like pathing of the missile itself. It's pretty slow moving, and sometimes it like lands short of the target. Dark Magic. Doombolt's pretty good at doing damage. I experimented with it in a game against Turin. It definitely wasn't the strongest thing in the world against the Warriors of Chaos, but if you're trying to chip down Leadbelchers, Leadbelchers have 16 models, and the explosive and range damage is good enough on this. It should kill models outright. But, I don't know, maybe it's... I don't think its area of effect is big enough. God damn, it's so hard to say. Word of Pain lowers accuracy and melee attack. I'll have to go consult the oracles. I'll go see if I can rally Tom up, who's one of our Wood Elf mains. Maybe they have a better idea of how to go about it. But we'll get in here. We'll do 2 more casts before we call it for the day. and then I'll run it back on Monday. As soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go check out Turin's season finals stream. Because should be pretty deep into that by this point. And that's always a really good time. Those are some of the sweatiest high-level games you can possibly experience, man. I don't need to see Corn Greenskins. We did already see that one. I don't think we want to watch an Undead Mirror. Ooh, Blue Scribes. Easy peasy. Immediate choice here. We've watched a lot of Mini Scout today. Just purely by accident here. But talking about Skaven is worth it. You know, lots of people love playing the Skaven. They're a really tough beginner faction, though. Poor leadership frontline with very, like, micro-intensive, slow missile units. Usually not a recipe for success as a newer player. I've seen a handful of people come in and do well with them, though. Doomflayers are going to be really nice here. I mean, there's nothing mass-wise on the ground for the Tzeentch army here to start off. Their missiles do a little bit of damage to Doomflayers, but once the Flayers are in combat, they get their best defense, which gives them the extra armor. It's going to be very hard to hammer those guys down. We'll see what the Blue Scribes end up casting this game. I freaking love these guys. Funniest unit in the game. Honestly, kind of underrated. I mean, they are a gamble, but you can get some ridiculous luck with them. I honestly think it's worth it. Tzeentch is fun to actually go to the casino with. Ooh, and we've got a War Shrine in here for the extra spell mastery as well as the reserves per second. Oh, that's so.
We have a victory punch.
You love to see it. I like seeing experimental builds like this. Blue Scribes looking to get shot with the Storm Demon, which whiffs. Very unfortunate for the Skaven player here. Definitely needed to get some good damage in here. And Spirit Leech coming out as the first spell from the Blue Scribes. You can see Spell Siphon getting charged up. They're probably going to be able to maximize that pretty quickly. And utilize it into the very late game once Giver of Arcane Glory gets charged up. Which shouldn't be too bad. Lots of Marauders and Blue Horrors here, so there'll be a lot of dead infantry. As long as the Sorcerer of Metal doesn't get, or not the, it is a Metal Sorcerer. Doesn't have any spells, but as long as the Chaos Lord doesn't get killed here, you can just kite this guy back in the late game, and he doesn't even need to do anything, because he's giving you the reserves and the spell mastery. Which isn't bad at all. Taking in Flensing Ruin here, has a ton of HP though, so it's going to take a little while for Flensing Ruin to wear him down. I'm not sure what spellcast that was, but it was definitely something. And we've got Arcane Surge being used on the Blue Scribes here, trying to give them the extra wins. Doomflayer's getting hit pretty hard by the Lance Knights here. You don't see Chaos Knights with Lances too often, but usually just because the other variant is so much better in a grinding melee fight, but having the Lances against Skaven can help a lot in actually bursting down Clan Rats. Clan Rats are, you know, god-awful in melee, but shock damage is also really strong against them. If you get a good enough charge off with the Chaos Knights, you can probably break them in one go. Decent focus fire on the Doomflayers. Doomflayers are taking a lot of damage. Ikit is getting absolutely destroyed back here. The Chaos Spawn have actually trapped him up in this blob and are putting a huge beatdown on him. How often do you see a Shrine Lord actually getting in there with the fisticuffs and doing damage as well? Actually chipping away at Ikit. Ikit is having an awful time of it in here. Mini Scout being way too overconfident with the Lord here. That is going to be a very dead Skaven Lord, probably. Furies sent to their doom, but they do take the Poison Wind Globes offline, if just for a moment. Routing them back and pushing them away from the frontline fight is pretty nice. More Poison Wind Globes getting jumped on by more Furies out here on the flank. Chaos Knights doing really, really well against the Doom Flayers. Just keeping them locked down and offline. The Doom Flayers have cleared through a ton of infantry. I mean, you can see how many kills they've gotten. 160 on these ones over here. Some of the other Doom Flayers not doing quite as well, I imagine. This one over here, only 13 kills. Pretty healthy, though. Running over the Chromatic Abominations. Definitely need to get them away from the Chaos Knights. Chaos Knight's going to be looking to get after those guys, surely. Furies take down another Poison Wind Globe. One Globadier left. Gets some good shots in on the Sour Guts, who are taking some pretty catastrophic damage. And the Skaven are hanging in here in terms of value, but not having Ikit online is really painful, and that's really good micro, dude. C-3PO, I love to see it. You know, the Blue Scribe's not good in melee combat, but they're fast. They can chase stuff off the field for sure. Not having access to your magic for a little bit definitely isn't great, but I think it's well worth it if you're chasing somebody like Ikit off the field. Furies land on the Natty Bubo's sharpshooters, but Wolf Rats and the Rat Ogres come out and are able to push them back. Doomflayer back here is just farming value on the Chromatic Abominations and the other Blue Horror unit, crumbling both of them out here. Marauders and some more Blue Horrors hanging out fighting some Clan Rats. Very close fight over there, but there's going to be a ton of magic for Tzeentch. Giver of Arcane Glory, fully charged here. War Shrine hanging out, just partying on the point. Not a lot of infantry support. Do need to chase down the Globadiers here, or just commit a little bit more shooting, which is going to be the option here. Sourgut's going to get a few more volleys off on the Globes. Globes got some good value, man. 161 kills, 900 value. They only cost 650. They can be really devastating if you don't take them offline appropriately. But the Lance Knights, the Furies, all of the swarming elements of Tzeentch have been more than enough for taking the weapon teams down. Without Ikit on the field, leadership for the Clan Rats is going to be pretty god-awful. Rat Ogres also don't have great leadership. They should be pretty vulnerable to the routes here. Tzeentch just needs to focus up and lock in for the remainder of this game. And they should have it in the bag. Forsaken coming out, definitely going to hard counter the Eshin Triads. Eshin Triads, very dependent on physical resistance for their survivability. Magic damage on literally everything in the Tzeentch army. Probably going to get taken offline real quick here. They are going to get some damage on the Metal Sorcerer, but it's taken them a while to get through the barrier, and they do get collapsed on by both of the Forsaken. And you can see how quickly the damage is racking up. These guys don't have a lot of HP either. It really is the 30% Phys Res that keeps them hold up there. Kraken's pull from the Blue Scribes is going to break the Wolf Rats and the Clan Rats there. Big damage from them. 1300 value on the Blue Scribes. Spell Siphon still going in. Arcane Surge. I wonder how much... I wish I could see magical reserves. That'd be a nice extra tooltip to see. I need to download the mod that adds it in. I know there is one. Or maybe it's a... I don't know. Maybe it's like the Telestration tools. Like, you have to go into the actual game files to add the little drawing tool in. I'll look into it and see about it. It'd be really nice to have available information-wise. Forsaken moving in against the Rat Ogres. They do okay into Rats, especially if they don't get flattened as the Rat Ogres rampage through with their mass. Chaos Knights stiffen up the formation, and the Forsaken should be able to pile their good weapon strength into combat against these Ogres and take them offline really quickly. You can see breaking their leadership in no time flat, and Gehenna's Golden Hounds coming down, chewing through the Clan Rats with spears, breaking their leadership as well. Blue Scribes just cackling up in the air like absolute lunatics. Natty Bubo's sharpshooters have gotten good value, but they do get shut down yet again by Furies. Clan Rats, a little bit lackluster for the job that they're trying to do here. Aren't good enough in melee combat to pull that off. Poison Wolf Rats do okay against Furies. They don't have the magical attacks like the other wolf rats do, but the poison is really nice and lets the wolf rats stay locked in combat against the Furies because it drags their speed down low enough they can actually chase these guys pretty effectively. But low leadership, again, I mean, they've got probably the worst leadership out of any unit in the game, just about. 34 at base. With the Dead Lord, you know, they've lost pretty much all of their leadership right off the bat. Blue Scribes hovering overhead. We can fast forward the rest of this game. This is just going to be a slow, grinding win for Tzeentch. Pit fight going really well for Tzeentch here. They've just got so much stuff. How did the Knights ended up doing? Almost 2,000 value on them. We got a Hailstorm from the Lore of Ice there going down. Does a little damage to the Night Runners. Blue Scribe still hovering overhead. Casting, what is that? Soul Stealer? No freaking way. That's so nice. They get a little bit of a heal there. Dropping a Searing Doom now. God, dude. Don't sleep on them. I'm telling you guys. Great unit. And, you know, this is a pretty risky build against the Skaven, but with all of the magic that's being cast, I mean, the Skaven just don't have answers. They don't know what to prepare for either, which is probably one of the reasons why the Scribes are so good. What better way to keep your opponent off balance by not even knowing what you have to work with either? That's like true Tzeentchian trickery in a nutshell. Sourcat's getting run over, but more Chaos Knights come out. Get after the Doom Flayers, lock them in combat, and should be able to drag them down without too much of a problem. Doom Flayers used to be really good against Cav, but, you know, they got nerfed, and now they're much more infantry-focused. They did really good work against the infantry in the early game, but Knights just come out and absolutely ice that unit in no time flat. Not giving up the Ghost, you know, the Skaven player, you know, very admirable effort here. That is going to be game, though. Really nicely done. Yeah, well played, Dancing. That was really good Ogre Kingdoms play. Leadbelchers are just so damn good. Oh, Tom, how do you beat the Ogre Kingdoms, Tom? Since you just got here, you gotta tell us, please. Help us out. I'm doing one more game, yeah. And then I'm gonna come back on Monday, and y'all can, check out the rest of the replays then. Yeah, Grace. That's understandable. High Elves probably have an even worse matchup against the Ogre Kingdoms because Leadbelcher Fire is insane against tightly packed infantry. Like, you thought it was bad against the Glade Guard and Dryads and stuff. Like, a Spearman or a Lothern Sea Guard getting hit by Leadbelcher Fire is just gross. I mean, you can get two-shot by a Leadbelcher series of volleys. It's not fun. I don't know what CA needs to do with Ogre Kingdoms. I've complained about it a little bit before, but just to go over it again, in case anybody here is not familiar with my problems with the Ogre Kingdoms, is just that, you know, they've got these incredible, here we go. We'll go look at the roster real quick. So, first of all, they've got the Thunder Tusk, which is just a stupid unit. It's banned for a reason. Anti-everything is not fun. It would be nice to see it either be 3,000 gold. I seriously think it has to cost 3,000 gold for it to be balanced. Or they need to remove the damn Howdas on the top. Because having two anti-large missiles built into this anti-infantry monster is just not fun. It's not fair, it's not fun, nobody wants to deal with it. It's a better Stonehorn Harpoon launcher for 200 more gold. Why, oh why did they do this to us? Another problem is the Pigback Riders. They've got much better leadership than the other Noblars. Like, I get it, they're supposed to be more elite, but they're still so damn cheap, and their uncanny coordination makes them a lot tankier than they really should be, I think. I mean, they don't need the extra leadership. Like, the extra melee defense is fine. I don't have a problem with that, but I just don't understand giving them, like, a free, like, leadership buff until they're down 50% of their HP. And then they've still got the higher, like, base value, so it's kind of rough. We're not even going to talk about the Piggyback Knights. They're arguably just as broken as the Thunder Tusk because of the Piggyback Joust. I mean, reducing the speed, they get extra charge speed. They're really ridiculous. Lead Belchers, you can just spam them all day, and they're just so good at killing all the enemy infantry. And then you just back that up with a bunch of, like, Maneater Great Weapons or Mournfang Cav Great Weapons. And most of the factions in the game are just not equipped for handling all of the monstrous infantry and chaff that Ogre Kingdoms can throw out right now. The counterplay is just really awkward against the Ogres. It's rough. It's really bad. They honestly feel like a faction that doesn't belong in this game, and not in a good way. It's less that they feel unique, and they just feel kind of off-kilter. They're fun to play, though, I'll tell you that. I mean, Norska has an okay matchup against Ogre Kingdoms. There are factions that can beat them. It's just that the bad matchups against Ogre Kingdoms are fucking terrible. They are so bad that it's not all that fun to play into them. It's not auto-lose kind of stuff, but it's very skewed. Alright, one more replay, and then come back on Monday. Go touch grass after this replay, guys. We'll do some Skaven versus Chaos Dwarves. Khorne versus Lizards is always fun. We've seen a lot of that, though, over time. I've already seen Count's Khorne, Ogre's Greenskins. Khorne Tomb Kings. This is a tough choice, guys. I think we'll do Skaven versus Chaos Dally. It's not a matchup that I see a whole heck of a lot. And we've got a Lord Skrulk sighting. We've got something other than Ikit, so why wouldn't I want to pick this replay? I like Skrulk. If Ikit weren't as good as he is, then I think Skrulk would have a little bit of room in the meta. And I think this is actually a pretty good option because, you know, the Chieftains have Power Grab. So, Skrulk being kind of squishy, if he goes down here for any reason, you've still got the Chieftains who can then give you extra leadership on your units. And you can still keep on scrapping. Skrulk is really good at running in, using all of his abilities up, and then just running away and hiding in the shadows. That's kind of how you use him. He's a good combatant, too. I mean, he's got pretty good stats. The Contaminated is also nice for debuffing leadership. We've got Vermintide and Plague. Plague is very strong. It is a really good AP damage spell. It's as strong... It's actually... No, it's as strong as an upgraded Pit of Shades, actually. Let me come in here for a sec and show it off. You can see here, you upgrade it, and it's up to 12 damage per second, but even at base, just regular casts, 12 winds of magic, 8 damage per second. The only thing it doesn't do that Pit of Shades does is lock stuff in place. You can see Pit of Shades is 5 damage. And its Vortex actually keeps stuff in its area of effect. But Plague can kind of fly under the radar. It's a pretty transparent effect. And it's pretty unobtrusive, so if you can cast it on a missile piece that's like firing or something, which, you know, there's plenty of those available for the Chaos Dally, you can sneak a lot of damage in on some very expensive units, and your opponent might not realize it. Do we have a Power Grab Chieftain in here? We do not have Power Grab on either of the Chieftains. I think you should do it, you know, just because Skrulk is quite squishy. He does not want to fight this Bale Taurus character at any point. Oh, sorry, this isn't the Bale Taurus, it's the regular old Taurus, but regardless, still good enough in melee combat that a couple good cycle charges will put the bully beat down on our stinky boy there. Eshin Triads getting caught out on their little flank over here by the Hobgoblin Sneaky Gits, who absolutely wreck these dudes with the precursor missiles. Wowee, man. You got the Taurus character flying overhead, probably going to tear out these Eshin Triads in a moment here. Skaven Slaves moving in to intercept, but they will be mincemeat for the Sneaky Gits, and the tear route goes in immediately. Really nice stuff. Terror is almost essential against the Skaven, I would argue. If you have a lot of terror-causing units on the field, and you can terror route all the Skaven and Skaven Slaves, or I should say, the Skaven Slaves and the Clan Rats, then you can just push right onto the weapon teams, which are, you know, the scary units, and just beat the ever-loving hell out of them. It's pretty sick. Liber Bubonicus goes down on the Iron Demon. Yeah, alright, you know what? That's probably the better option, because Chalice of Blood and Darkness is, you know, available, of course, for the Sorcerer Prophet of Fire. Trying to do damage to him, probably not that great. Usually the best thing you can do against these Bale Taurus characters is you try and just beat the ground forces that the Chaos Dowie have out on the field. You don't try and fight the Sorcerer unless you get just an amazing jump on him and fully surround him and can finish him off in one good go. But getting through all the Hobgoblin Cutthroats and Chaos Warriors here, it's going to be a little tough. These guys are great against Clan Rats, obviously, but we do have the Natty Bubos back here. We've got Poison Wind Globes. They should be able to do good enough damage against those guys to finish them off, as long as Foch 2 is able to get good engagements here. Doomflayers rolling around. They got a little damage in on the Sorcerer Prophet. Took about 300 damage. It's not bad. Chieftains looking to tangle with the Iron Demon here. Shotgun going down. We've got a really nice Burning Head roasting out some Clan Rats. Does miss the Poison Wind Globes. Maybe casting it through this frontline fight would have been a little bit better, but Burning Head is very tricky, you know. It's got a weird wind path that wobbles all over the place. I've seen it do as much damage to my own front line as to the enemy sometimes. And, you know, saving the damage on the Hobgoblin Cutthroats is probably for the best. Chieftains are doing pretty well in here, but they're taking some fire from the Fireglaves now. We'll see what Skrulk is going to be doing here. Very unfortunate break in the front line, but Plague does go down, and it is hitting a lot of units right now. Getting that little bit of damage in there, pretty good. If the front line had held just a little bit longer, probably would have been even more devastating. But the Cutthroats actually running back through the area of effect of it. Doing enough damage, they might not rally now, which is pretty funny, honestly. We've got Rat Ogres trying to stop the trains from running over the Natty Bubo Sharpshooters. Nice Burning Head, but it does roast the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders pretty badly. And Warplock Jezzails have decent armor at 70. Maybe the Skaven are going to be able to save those guys. I mean, they've got a decent HP pool. The trains should just be hard focusing these Jezzails, honestly. Running over that weapon team and then coming back to run over the Skaven slaves and Clan Rats is, in my opinion, the better option. Because these guys are going to get away with 20 models. They'll be able to rally, probably, and do some good damage. But looks like the Taurus character is being sent in to handle them, so maybe they won't rally here. Good, God, dude. Christopher's is so good on the Chaos Dowie. It's always impressive seeing people who can micro these guys well. Doomflayers are getting on top of the Fireglaves. There is another Doomflayer out here running over the Sneaky Gits. Barely hanging on to the back point here, but the Chaos Dowie have just run over the #1 objective as well. So Skaven holding on to the middle objective. Burning Head is going to do some fat damage. Oh, yes, baby. Give it to me. Beautiful path, too, right down this Clan Rat Spear. And they kind of pull back into its area of effect. Could have done a lot more, but still got enough damage in here for the terror routes to start going down. And the Taurus character just being disruptive as hell. Doing a lot of favors for the Chaos Dowie, but they're still behind somehow, man. God, that's so rough. Skaven with the plays here, man. They're still hanging in here. And Lord Skrull with 143 kills, clearing out a lot of infantry in the front line. Liber Bubonicus all used up now. Chieftain's hanging in there, doing some pretty good work too. 700 value on this one, about 700 on the other. Getting gatted down by the Fire Glaives. We do have Kadai Fireborn moving in. We've got plenty of magic that should be able to help finish Skaven units off here. Chaff for Days is not going to do well against Trains, Kadai, and a Great Taurus. And maybe it'll come down to the Taurus character killing the Chieftains and then Skrulk for the eventual win. More Kadai Fireborn coming out, killing these Doom Flayers. They should be able to finish them off. Rat Ogre's looking pretty weak, but the Poison Wind Globe's getting some fat value on this train over here. More Rat Ogres moving in, just tides of Skaven. Just rolling deep in here, man. I think the Fire Glaives are in range of the Globes, who they probably should be focus firing. What are they shooting at right now? Shooting at the Rat Ogres here, it looks like. Kadai hanging in nicely. Kadai might be able to fight in here against Skrull, but they are surrounded by multiple units of Rat Ogres. And Kadai Fireborn, they may be some of the best anti-infantry units in the game, but any decently large-sized monstrous infantry unit with AP is going to do very cost-effective damage against them. Their melee attack is very low, so they just don't have the damage output to beat the Rat Ogres down. Another Burning Head goes in. Christopher's has been very on point with the Burning Heads. They haven't done the most work in the world, but they've held up the front line for the Skaven pretty decently. The damage has been pretty sick, though, from Skrull. He has gotten some really good value. The Fire Glaives get hit by the Plague. Really good tension, though. Able to pull out before those guys get absolutely iced there. Skrull has 195 kills and 1,500 value, dude. He's pretty cheap, and he's just getting away with murder here in the pit fight. He's going to break the leadership on these Chaos Dowie warriors. You can see the contaminated effect, bringing them close to the breaking point here. They're going to finish off the Poison Wind Globes, but more Globes coming out. Still a decent number of Rat Ogres on the field. Trains all going down here. Looks like the last one got killed by these Rat Ogres who are now fighting the Kadai. Kadai in isolation against one Rat Ogre should be able to win this fight. I do think that the value trade, though, is going to favor the Skaven there regardless. Wolf Raiders looking for an opportunity, not finding much to work with, though, at this point. Excuse me, guys. Wolf Raiders coming out with the bows. Fire Glaives have 2,055 value. One of the few units that's really been holding up their end of the bargain. I don't know what it is about Chaos Dowie Warriors, but they just suck, dude. They just don't do well against anything, it seems. I mean, I know Dwarf Warriors are not all that good, and these Chaos Dowie Warriors are basically a Dwarf Warrior. But man, oh man, is it just rough for them, and a lot of corruption comes down. And just ripping through the HP on those Chaos Dowie Warriors. Sends them packing. 2,000 on Skrulk now. 222 kills. It's really the kill count that's very impressive from him. He's really good at actually just removing the actual models from the game, which is usually more impactful than just raw damage, you know? Like, damage value can be very deceptive. Actually killing models can be way more useful for you in the long run. Clan Rat Spears pushing back the Hobgoblin Wolf Raiders who are trying to get on the #1 objective here. Poison Wind Globe Fire gonna make mincemeat of these guys. God, dude. Oh, that's beautiful. Arcing Fire. These dudes have some serious arms on them. They should be in, like, Major League Baseball. with how far they can throw them. I mean, throwing a baseball 85 meters is pretty doable, but you know, for like a normal human being. But on a little racky, these guys are pretty juiced. Don't ask them how they're getting all that upper arm strength. You know, I can't imagine they're doing anything reputable to bulk up. Hobgoblin sneaky gets moving in. Clan Rat's running around. Skrull pumping his little legs, just chilling in the back. Look at him, sniffing the air. He's like, any more Dowie to kill? I think he is also blind, so maybe he's sniffing the air for scent of his prey. Running in, looking to get after the Wolf Raiders. He might be able to break the leadership on these guys if he gets a couple good swings in. Doesn't look like his Contaminate affected those guys. Burning Head going down. It really is the Bale Taurus versus the world, man. Taurus characters are damn good, but I don't know what it is about them. It seems like sometimes they're like the ultimate effort in futility type of unit. Like, they carry the Chaos Dwarf roster so hard, dude. Not to say that the Chaos Dwarfs are bad, but some of their units are definitely a little lackluster. Like the Chaos Dwarf Warriors, terrible mainline infantry option. I mean, they just don't do well into much of anything. They're not good damage output. They're not that great at holding. They're kind of expensive at 600 gold as well. I don't really know what you use in this matchup, though. Against the Skaven, I mean, the Burning Heads have been really good, like I've said. But it's really been the problems that the trains have been having. You know, the Iron Demons have done some good work. They didn't quite pay for themselves the first time around, and the weapon teams are just so much cheaper to pump out onto the field with lots of Rat Ogres to back it up, that the Chaos Dowie just can't quite finish the job. Like, they've gotten in here, they've done a pretty good job of scrapping. They're down pretty bad in value now, though. Just because the Doom Flayers and the Rat Ogres are just in much deeper formations here. The Kadai have also been struggling a little bit. This one's done really nicely. The other Kadai Fireborn that was out on the field didn't do nearly as well. This one here did not do great. I mean, this is a 1,450 gold unit, and they got 700 value. You can't really afford to let that happen. These Kadai Fireborn have pretty good charge on Blazing Body now. Should do some pretty good damage to the Rat Ogres just by virtue of getting punched in the face right now.
You have the foe's victory.
Chaos Dowie scrapping in here into the late game, but Skrull just being left to his own devices most of this game. Probably what's swinging this game for the Skaven. He is pretty hard to catch on the ground. He's a tiny little target. He's very good at mixing in with clan rats and surviving most combats. And, you know, his decent melee stats do him a lot of good. So, I don't know how you snipe him out. Maybe a Deathcaster would have been better. Because Deathcasters with Spirit Leech, especially on the Tauruses, can do good damage to Ikit. If you can get a little bit of fire from a Fireglaive onto Ikit as well, that can put him in the danger zone. It doesn't take a whole lot to hunt Ikit down if you've got a good combat character with death magic going after him. You gotta be careful that you don't get Howling Warp Galed, though, because, you know, that's going to be on the table 9 times out of 10 for Skaven players if they're going up against the Chaos Dowie. But really fun off-meta build, man. Skrull did great. You love to see it, man. It just showing off that there's more options than the meta. You can mix it up and do pretty well in this game. Doomflayers did pretty well. Let's go check out these Chaos Dwarf Warriors. God-awful value on all of them. None of them paid for themselves, and they sank a ton of cost into the Skaven. The Sneaky Gits did alright, though. They almost paid for themselves, and the Hobgoblin Cutthroats were bad. I don't know what the answer is, dude. Maybe you go, like, some kind of insane full-ranged build. Magma Cannons might be good. Christopher's is a much better Chaos Dowie player than me, so I don't really feel like giving him advice is really in my wheelhouse. But I just feel like bringing any kind of decent infantry against Skaven is just always an exercise in futility. You just gotta find a way to clear the clan rats out and kill all of the backline stuff, so bringing in as many hard-hitting swarming elements as possible usually works out much better for you than trying to get through the front line. Maybe the Blazing Beards of Basharit can do okay. They're 950 and they get the blasting charges. Maybe these guys can be like your one anchor piece. And then lots of Hobgoblin Cutthroats and like maxed out Goblin Laborers. Just throw bodies at the Skaven and just like wear out all of their ammo. And the Skaven Slaves, and then you push into the backline with, here are the Sorcerers. Spirit Leech. I don't think you need Fate of Buna. You can bring Doom of Darkness and maybe Leadership Bomb. I don't know. Maybe something is a viable alternative. You can mix in a couple of those in the opening. I don't know how Bull Centaur Renders do in that matchup. I don't imagine they do all that great. Ogla Khan's boys and the Wolf Raiders here, they can probably do pretty decently. Ogla Khans are a very strong ROR unit. They've got a shield on them too, so like gutter runners and stuff do a little less damage to them. They've got decently long range. As long as they aren't getting hit by Jezzails, they're a pretty safe, expensive piece that you can bring in early. But yeah, I like the trains. Trains are obviously very good. Terror routes and lots of mass. Very good at running over the weapon teams. Kadai. Not bad. Wolf Raiders. The problem with the Chaos Dowie roster is it's just not very versatile. It tends to play very samey over all of its matchups. They really would need some more units in order to really come into like full fore of the potential power that they have. They're more of a campaign roster than they are a actual like multiplayer faction that can do good in all of the different fights that they can find themselves in. They're very good against the demon factions. And they tend to struggle against a lot of the other mortal factions. You know, like Empire's pretty good against them. Beastmen are very good against the Chaos Dowie. You saw them struggle against the Skaven there. I don't know how they do against Counts and Coast. They probably do a little bit better into Counts than they do into Vampire Coast. There's probably okay matchups for them. Wood Elves you would think would be a really good matchup for the Chaos Dowie, but they've been struggling all season against them. Just this last little point to make. I'll drag y'all over here to check out the win rates right now. All things being the same, I don't imagine it's gotten much better. Yeah, the Chaos Dowie beating the Wood Elves. Oh, they're beating the Wood Elves right now. They were losing really badly earlier in the season. Okay, so maybe the matchup is evened out now that people have played enough games. They were losing really horribly. Losing to Nurgle makes sense. They're like one of the few demon factions that they're not great against. Doing okay against Khorne. Slaanesh, they're doing alright against. Tzeentch, alright. I think they'd probably have the best win rate against Tzeentch, given time. Nurgle might be hard just because Nurgle has a ton of healing, and trains aren't nearly as good against Nurgle as they are against other factions because of all the Plague Toads. But, anyways, I'm going to call it here, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this stream. I'll be back on Monday to do the rest of the replays. Come check them out then, and I'll catch y'all around. Maybe in Turin's chat in a few minutes here. Peace out.